This is the GJRB Online Network.
Time I start a fire. Son of a bitch. Ain't that something? I start the show a little late and I already get accused of being CPT. Ain't that? Thank you, young Jen. Thank you. She comes down here and she's like, how come you haven't started the show? How come you're not talking yet? CPT? And I'm like, damn, you got me. But that's all right. That's all right because everyone knows he runs CPT over here. But no, I was finishing up social media links. Got to get all that stuff out there. Had to get the description and all this stuff as much as I could. Can't do it on Twitter, though. They only allow like 240 characters, and I'm too long-winded for that. No, I know. Me, long-winded? Who would have guessed? Anyway, guys, we got a lot of stuff on deck here tonight. I don't want to say his name just yet, but we have a certain somebody, a certain VP's son who might or might not be smoking crack, who might or might not be involved in child pornography, who might or might not be involved in illicit dealings. We'll talk about that there. The racism from the left, it just keeps going on and on and on. I'm going to talk about a couple teachers. Calling. Yeah, we'll talk about that there. And so much more. Your live call in here tonight. Please make sure you give us a call here, 920-376-9400. And without further ado, let's get this kicked off. Welcome once again. Yes, it is October 20th, 2 weeks before election 2020. Can you believe that? 2 weeks, 14 days. By this time, in 2 weeks' time, we will already know that it is President Donald J. Trump who has won 2020. And I am making that call. I'm making it right now. I know it is bold. I know the polls tell us otherwise. But I believe that this president will be president for 4 more years. Not 12 like he said when he was here in Wisconsin. But anyway, yeah. So apparently Donald Trump was here in Janesville, Wisconsin last week. And the crowd was chanting 12 more years. 12 more years. 12 years. Well, my whole thing is, right, if we didn't want Obama to run for 3, why would we want Trump? You know, I mean, we got to keep rules the same across the board. Yep. That's always kind of been my thing from the get-go. But, it's 2020. Stranger things can happen. I mean, for all I know, we could time travel for like 12 more years and he's still president. I don't know. You can't make stuff up anymore. But, yeah, man, things are crazy. Speaking about things that are crazy, we got the chat room blowing up here tonight. We got Teresa up here in the house. How are you, Little T? We got Brother John from OBFSU. And I know he's going to give a shout out to young Jen over here. Thanks for making me feel old. I appreciate that. Good looking out, brother. Oh, it's good times, good times. Teresa letting people know that Bitcoin just hit 12K today. One Bitcoin is worth $12,000. This is the type of information that makes me really kick myself in the backside because I had an opportunity back in 2010 to invest in Bitcoin for $100. Do you realize I could actually be like, baller, shot caller? I could have 20-inch rims on my Impala. Yeah. Well, I used to have an Impala. I kind of crashed that, but that's a whole nother story. That was, many, many moons ago. But yeah, boy, I wish I had had me some Bitcoin. That'd have been crazy. But let's see here. We got Brother Joe, the repo man himself. He goes, what's up, my minions? The meme lord is in the house. Yeah, it's true. He's got them memes here. We got Brother Mike here from Radio Hope. How are you, sir? Good to see you. We got John Galt. John, what's going on, brother? How you doing? Does anyone want some popsicles? Yes, I want popsicles. I love popsicles. Orange pop, like I ain't not even gonna lie. I will fight a child over an orange popsicle. But that's just kind of me. And Mike, are you still hooking people up with the flags tonight? If you are, please make sure you put out that link in there. Maybe we can get a contest or something going on. Or if you guys, however you want to do it, man. However you want to do it. And let's see here. See, Brother John here mentioned that just got back from the West Coast. They're fired up way more in 2018 than in 2018 and 16. It is, excuse me, not the Rona. It is ridiculous how much is going on in a lot of these places, especially out in California and New York, these Trump rallies. Um, and these aren't just the boat rallies, man. These are like the car rallies, everything else. And I'm telling you right now, if I can actually make it without like dying over here, but I'm telling you right now, the enthusiasm that we're seeing out here is absolutely incredible. One of the things, and I've talked to a gentleman, and I mentioned it before here, his name's Paris Prokopis, and I'm very cautionary when I say that, especially when it relates to the rural areas. Like I'm in a very rural area here in central Wisconsin, and I am seeing a ton of Biden signs. And I'll talk about that here a little later on, but there are far more Biden signs out there in the rural areas of Wisconsin than there have been Clinton signs back in 2016. And I think part of that is because, in 2016, Hillary Clinton just was not likable. Say what you want about Joe Biden, he is a bit of an authority figure, and people feel confident around him. Um, I think their confidence is misplaced, but, you know, that's just a feeling that I think some of these people get from him. This idea that, he's been in office 47 years, so surely he must know what he's doing. But that's really not the case. You and I both know that. But I am seeing far more signs out there. But an interesting point that I heard today from Tommy Lauren in one of her little Facebook Live chats she put out there. Basically, what she said, for every one Biden sign that you see out there, think about all those other houses that don't have Biden signs. And in all likelihood, those are probably going to be Trump voters. So that's a really interesting one here. Let's see. No snow. I'd like to tell you no snow, but yeah, we got snow up in here. Just some flurries, but yeah. Ugh. Teresa mentioned 5 inches of snow so far and still snowing. Ooh. It's 2020. What you gonna do? You know, Joe, that's a very real possibility tonight. Joe mentioned on here, Jen is choking Ed on the air for being late tonight. Oh hell. John Gall mentioned here, it's a virus of liberalism that's spreading, and that's why there are so many Biden signs. And yes, and to kind of go upon that point, that is something I have warned about. And this is something I talked about a couple years ago here on this very show. And this is that idea that you have a lot of these people from the inner cities, a lot of these traditional Democrat voting people, and they end up leaving these big cities. They leave these big cities because they're tired of the high taxes. They can't afford it. They want better schools. But what they end up doing here is they end up bringing their piss poor voting habits to these areas that are run relatively efficiently. And they bring these really bad voting habits with them and infect that area. And in a lot of ways, I kind of see the modern day liberal as a locust. I mean, last week apparently, you know, Keith Olbermann can go ahead and refer to conservatives and Trump supporters as maggots. Well, if he can do that, you know what? I'm going to see you as locusts. But I actually do understand the human aspect of you. My problem is that you behave in a lot the same way that a locust does. You go, you consume, you move on. You consume, you move on. You don't produce, you don't create, you don't make, you just consume. And then you move on, leaving waste and destruction in your path. That is what I see the behavioral patterns of the modern day liberal. Now, it's not to say that to try to dehumanize them, but if you can tell me that there's a better analogy out there, I'm more than willing to listen to it. I just don't personally see it when for years that is all I've ever seen from liberals and Democrats that have moved from place to place to place. And every time they move from one place to another, they leave it in worse shape than what they initially had found it in. Oh, snap. We got Bob Toth here in the house tonight. The troll himself. What's going on, man? Good to see you here. Oh, the memes are flowing in already. I'm almost afraid. Let's take a look here. I really wish there was a video aspect to the podcast so I could actually put this here. It has Hunter Biden shoveling snow, and there's this kid shoveling a driveway, and looks like lines of cocaine in there. Oh, and I'm not even going to mention the one with the FBI agent here. Gizzard, what's going on, man? How you guys doing tonight? Guys, give Gizzard here a big shout out. This is Gizzard from the Black Dog Radio Show, man. If you guys haven't had a chance to check out the Black Dog Radio Show from some of their older episodes, make sure you check them out. It's been a while since they've been on here. But yes, sir, good to see you on here tonight. So yeah, we got a lot of stuff to dip into here, and the question as always is, where do we go? Where do we go? Where do we go? Oh man. You know, you've got entertainment news, and I was talking to Hilario De Leon the other day, and you know, he was all, and a lot of people, this was just yesterday, a lot of people were all giddy about the fact that 50 Cent had endorsed Trump. And one of the things that kind of really got under my skin about that was I am so tired of covering like celebrity news, because to me, celebrity news is just, it's garbage, you know, but at the same point, I guess I get it because they have a certain sphere of influence and people like to kind of go with the flow, like we talked about last week when it came to social proof. But it just irritates the hell out of me to no end that the moment that, you know, a celebrity like Ice Cube or 50 Cent does anything or says anything positive about Trump and the Trump administration, all of a sudden it's like, you know, oh, you're a sellout, you're a coon, you're this, that, and the other. And it's like, really? Again, who said that just because you happen to share the same skin color as a certain group of people, you have to think the same? But we'll get into that here in a little bit. Yeah, I want to talk about 50. I want to talk about Ice Cube here in a bit. But I'm going to kick it off here. Actually, I want to kick off with this article here. Thank you, Gizzard, man. I love you guys. And yeah, Joey might like cocaine, but you know, like Rick James said, cocaine's a hell of a drug. Yeah, can't mess around with that. So I want to dip into this here first because this is one of those things that it's very near and dear to me. When we talk about small businesses, this is something.
Getting that just right temperature or getting an energy efficient appliance. It's not only about making smart changes today, it's about creating brighter tomorrows with simple steps to save energy. Plus, you'll help protect the environment for years to come. A better world for you, your family, and your community. Get started with rebates and discover what energy-efficient choices can help you power what's next at alliantenergy.com/rebates.
That I take very personal. This year, plus Ultra Media, the Caramel Conservative, the STS programs that I just started up, I put them on YouTube and Library TV, LRB TV. That's LRBY. Let me put that up here. LRBY.TV. So I actually got some channels up there, so I'm trying to do some video stuff. But here, like I said, all of that falls under the umbrella of Plus Ultra Media. And this is my small business. Now, it's not very profitable business. It's up and starting, but it is still, I like to run it like a business nonetheless. Now, that being said, I know a lot of business owners. I'm talking independent mom and pop shops that are literally living, you know, cycle to cycle, quarter to quarter, just trying to get by. Now, when you take a look at a lot of your bars, a lot of your restaurants, even some of your smaller independent convenience stores, these people are not getting rich. This is so extremely important to understand. All majority of people see is money going across the counter, going across the bar, going to the wait staff. That's all people see. Yes, Teresa. Teresa got the spelling on that right. Apparently, I got a little dyslexic, hooks on phonics. I went to a public school thing going on here. But a lot of people, all they see is the cash going one way. What they don't see is the money going across the counter the other direction. Taxes, overhead, employees, vendors, you know, any incidental costs, anything else that might come along with that. There's a lot of other things, and by the time that most of these businesses are done with their overhead expenses, with all of their expenses in total, they might be looking at anywhere between 7 and 10% that they get to keep for themselves. And of course, the money that they get to keep for themselves is going to be taxed as, you got it, income. So, here in the state of Wisconsin, the governor the other day, well, actually a couple weeks ago, he instituted this one policy, and it wasn't necessarily the governor himself. It was acting secretary of the Department of Health Services here in the state of Wisconsin, Andrea Palm. She ended up doing this thing where they were only supposed to have 25% capacity here, and this was Executive Order number 3 in the state of Wisconsin. So bars, restaurants, stores, grocery stores, you're only supposed to have 25% capacity. Now, there was a lot of people on social media that were carrying on about, well, these bars and these businesses, they can take the hit. It's not a big deal. And I'm like, whoa, you need to slow your roll here. Because can you survive on 25% of your income? Can you continue to pay the people you need to pay? Or are your bill collectors going to say, you know what? I understand these are hard times. We still need our money. We loan this out. These were the conditions. You still have to fulfill that. I understand bill collectors, other stuff can be, they can be understanding. They can work with you. They can do certain things like that. But at a certain point, you are not going to be able to survive on a quarter of your income. Hell, I was talking with my brother earlier today. There's no way in hell I could survive on 50% of my income. I need the entire 100%. I need to get as much as I possibly can. And any business that I know that I've ever encountered, that's their goal as well. They're not trying to operate at 50% capacity. They're trying to operate up to maximum capacity. They're trying to generate as much income as possible. Why wouldn't you? Isn't that the goal, to be able to write your own check? Now, I understand we're in this epic time here, dealing with a pandemic and all this other craziness. But here's the bigger problem here. In trying to deal with this quote unquote pandemic, we are hurting more and more people. I am seeing businesses literally drop like flies. And I'm only looking in an area here in central Wisconsin that is, well, it's a relatively large area. But if I was to extrapolate that across the state, across the region, these numbers are going to be absolutely mind-blowing. These businesses that, and I see this every year, there's always a business who you can kind of tell that they're going to go under at some point, whether it be through mismanagement, whether it be just from hard times, whether it be just from not knowing if their clientele or service. It could be any number of factors. And every year, what I see is during the summertime, they try to ride out the summer going up to Labor Day, and then they make that harsh decision. Do we carry on, or do we cut our losses and say, you know what, we're out? And every year I see a business or two that happens. But this year in particular, like I said, I have seen more and more of this. And like I said, not just in my own neck of the woods. We're reading stories about this, and how many places, and Bobby, you're right, how many cities are being turned into ghost towns? How many towns, how many of these small independent, small little towns, these villages, how many of them are going to be suffering? That have, the county I'm in, we're we're in the top 3 when it comes to poorest counties here in the state of Wisconsin. And it's fascinating that a governor wouldn't even take that into account. Look at this here, and what can we do to try to revitalize, to incentivize business? If you want to try to put restrictions to the extent that, try to do so, try to do. I love how they say, you need to do social distancing. What the hell? There's nothing social about distancing, number one. And number two, this whole face mask, face covering, whatever the hell they want to call it, mandate, it's a little Hitler-esque to me. And I don't think I'm being hyperbolic when I say that. But now, let's couple all this together with mental health. And I want to go into this here because earlier when this whole pandemic broke out, we're talking in going into April, into May. I remember going over a story, and it came from urbanmilwaukee.com, and they had talked about the first 1 or 2 months of the pandemic that in the city of Milwaukee alone, calls to the suicide hotline in that short time had went up 82%. Now, if you take a look at statistics going around, you look at the mental health experts, and they will tell you that the numbers of sexual abuse, the numbers of physical abuse, domestic violence, drug abuse, alcohol abuse, it has gone up in some areas triple digits. You got people that are lost. They are feeling in despair. They don't know what to do. They're afraid. And I can't blame them. Well, if you're sexually abusing somebody in your household, you're sexually abusing anybody, yes, I can't blame you. There are coping mechanisms. I mean, even if you pick a bad coping mechanism, abusing somebody that's just not acceptable under any circumstance. But that being said, I can understand why people are scared. I mean, at the beginning of all this, when it came to COVID, nobody, I mean, hell, it was like the moment that you got COVID, you thought it was a death sentence. And I don't think there's anybody in their right mind that's going to sit here and tell you, no, COVID's fake. I actually had somebody tell me that today, by the way, but I don't think that person's in their right mind. And the reason I say that is because COVID's real. You don't want it. For those of you guys that might have had it or you think you've been exposed to it, it ain't a joke. And it affects people differently. I know one person in particular who just spent 3 weeks in the hospital. She just completed her regimen, and God bless her. It seems like she's going to be up and at it here in a few days. Back to doing what she does, kicking ass and taking names. For some people, there was a YouTuber out there, young guy, 30s, fitness guy. I mean, chiseled like a Greek god. He ended up getting COVID, and he ended up passing away. Supposedly, he didn't have any pre-existing health conditions, but the fact is, for the most part, you don't want this. But then again, it's kind of like the flu, too. Nobody wants the flu. The flu kills about, 60,000 people every year? So nobody wants the flu, but yet every year people get it. So the best thing, and this is one of those things I talked about earlier, I think that if COVID has taught us nothing else, we have got to take better care of ourselves, physically, mentally, and spiritually, okay? But now that we're entering into the cold and flu season, allergy season, September, October, November, we're now dealing with temperatures going into the 30s and 40s at night. We are now dealing with possible snow. Like I was just in one town yesterday, and we had flurries. Teresa in the chat room mentioned you had 3-5 inches, something like that there? I mean, absolutely ridiculous. Joe's got to go out there and steal some stuff. All right, brother, catch you on the flip side, man. I only social distance toward liberals. That's pretty much all you should do. Oh, damn. John Golf's going to be epic here tonight. I'm taking care of myself. I'm about to drink 3 sodas and eat an entire pizza by myself. But this COVID business obviously is not something that you guys want. I mean, it's not something I want. But at some point, we're all going to get infected with it. We're all going to have to deal with it. So taking better care of yourself is certainly something that's going to help you along the way. Now, as we get into this cold and allergy season here, how do you differentiate between the flu, the cold, and COVID? Because all the symptoms seem to cross over to one another. There's a comorbidity to all of them. Symptoms from all three, they all match. So how exactly do you know when to get tested? That's the one thing. So, of course, now that we're getting into the season, there's this idea that we're now going into a second wave. But on top of the second wave, let's compound all that with the fact that we're about to hit a time zone change. Daylight savings, spring forward, fall back. So you're going to lose an hour of sunlight. Well, let's enter into depression. Let's enter into the equation sundowner syndrome. Now we got to couple all that together, and we got one massive mental health time bomb. This article here comes from WISN, right in the Milwaukee area, and it's titled here as a second wave of mental health devastation due to COVID-19 is imminent, experts say. While the world struggles to manage the initial waves of death and disruption caused by COVID-19 pandemic, there's mounting evidence accumulating that a second wave linked to the rising rates of mental health and substance use disorders could be building, according to an article published Monday in the medical journal JAMA. A second wave of devastation is imminent and attributable to mental health consequences of COVID-19, wrote Dr. Naomi Simon, Dr. Glenn Sachs, and Dr. Charles Marmer, all New York University Grossman's School of Medicine, all from. The magnitude of this second wave is likely to overwhelm the already frayed mental health system, leading to access problems, particularly for the most vulnerable persons. The second mental health wave, the researchers suggest, will bring further challenges such as an increased deaths from suicide, drug overdoses, and will have disproportionately affect the same group on the first wave that it did: Black and Hispanic people, older adults, lower socioeconomic groups, and healthcare workers. This magnitude of death over a short period of time is an international tragedy on a historic scale. This interpersonal loss is compounded by societal disruption. Of central concern, the authors wrote, is the transformation of normal grief and distress into a prolonged grief and major depressive disorder and symptoms of post-traumatic health disorder. Article continues, a grief that lasts longer. Prolonged grief, which affects approximately 10% of bereaved people, is characterized by at least 6 months of intense longing, preoccupation, or both, with the deceased, emotional pain, loneliness, difficult re-engaging in life, avoidances, feeling like life is meaningless, and increased suicide risk. These conditions can also become chronic with additional comorbidities such as substance use disorders, the authors said. That 10% by prolonged grief is likely to be an underestimate for grief-related deaths from COVID-19, and each death leaves approximately 9 family members bereaved, said the authors. This means that there is a projected 2 million bereaved individuals in the United States, and thus the effect of COVID-19 deaths on mental health will be profound. Of particular concern for the authors is the psychological risk of healthcare for healthcare and essential service workers. Supporting the mental health of these and other essential workforce is critical to the readiness of managing recurring waves of the pandemic, the authors said. The pandemic has already brought with it a mental health crisis, according to data from the U.S. Center for Disease Control and Prevention. And a new report found that Americans are experiencing more coronavirus-related mental health issues than people in other countries. The CDC's survey data reported that nearly 41% of respondents are struggling with mental health issues stemming from the pandemic. The issues are related to the pandemic and to the measures set upon contained in it, including stay-at-home orders and social distancing. The article goes on a little bit more, but here's my take on this. As you decide that says, it's going to disproportionately affect Black and Hispanics. How? What are you saying, that we can't deal with these things? I've always fascinated, and it just seems like every time there's a study that comes out there, that's usually one of the first go-tos a lot of these folks end up throwing out there. And honestly, it's getting really tired and it's getting really old. Now, that being said, how do you essential service workers? I've seen people stressed out in grocery stores. I've been stressed out. To say that I haven't been affected by this with my own mental health would be to be disingenuous. I think I've become a little more jaded since this all began, and I think a lot of that stemmed from my own. I think it stems from my own biases, because I'm seeing a lot of people that I used to really respect, and I see them as like just weak and pathetic now. I've seen a lot of people that just seem to capitulate and go along with the flow. They just kind of, do whatever daddy government tells them to do for fear of getting spanked. I see people just giving away their rights, and that just pisses me off to no end. Now, I don't know if that's necessarily because of what I'm seeing out there in terms of, oh, it's taking a negative toll on my mental health, or is it just me watching people and it's like, God, this is actually really making me sick. Like, I thought we were a stronger people. I guess I was wrong. But I am seeing a lot of people out there that are being stressed out. They're working longer hours. They're trying to, protect themselves while at the same time, make money, because the idea of sitting at home waiting for a $1,200 stimulus check isn't going to cut it, isn't going to pay the bills. Because ultimately, every month, that mortgage comes due, that rent comes due, your car note comes due. If you got credit cards, you better make sure you pay them off. It's like I told people when that stimulus check first came in. If you ain't paying the mortgage, your rent, investing in lead, or paying down debt, you're doing something wrong with your money. That should be amongst the first things that you should be doing. You know? And it's just very, very frustrating when I see that. So I can certainly see where the extra stress and everything comes in for people, especially at the beginning of this. But I think where it becomes more and more of an issue is you're seeing these governors like in places like Michigan, Wisconsin, California, New York, where they keep trying to impose these lockdowns, and they're being told, by scientists now, even with the World Health Organization, that the lockdowns are the worst thing that you can do. That it should be a measure that you are taking as a last resort because of the economic impact that's going to be caused from starvation, the lack of people making money, people able to actually socialize with one another, and this whole social distancing thing. God, I've talked about this ad nauseum. It really just pisses me off because, I have seen people that like I said, I used to think these were like strong folks. No, just give me my 6 feet. And it's like, man, I hope I'm not like 5'11" from you, because you might get cooties all of a sudden. It's always funny when you watch somebody who you used to respect and you're just kind of like, oh, wow, I didn't realize you were so incredibly weak. Thanks for letting me know. Now I know who I can and can't count on. Well, like I said before, if anything, COVID's also shown us what we can and can't count on. Christine, how are you tonight? Good to see you here in the chat room. Got to check the chat room in here from time to time. Christine mentioned nothing that a Trump win can't solve. Vaccine is on its way. Well, and that's an interesting thing. Is a vaccine something that is on its way? Is it needed? Is herd immunity something that we need instead? Therapeutics, is it something we already have? And I'm going to be so curious to see how that plays out, because how many people you get sick, you deal with it, you get better. And it's kind of like the flu. I mean, I remember last year when I had the flu, I was wiped out. It was like somebody beat me up. It was like if my daughter came over here and just said, Dad, that's it. I ain't dealing with you. I ain't dealing with you no more. And she whooped my tail. And, that was a rough one. But, I wrote it out. I got me some Theraflu, some Robitussin, and just, did my thing. Got me some chicken noodle soup and got me some rest. When I had some bourbon too, I'm not gonna lie. But in all honesty, you write it out for a couple days and you're back up and at it. Other people though, they end up getting flu, they end up getting sick, and in the hospital they go, which goes back to what we had talked about earlier. 60,000 people had already passed away just on an annual basis from the flu alone. I mean, and each and every one of those deaths is a tragedy. Each and every one. Each and every one of these deaths, when it relates to COVID, is a tragedy. But again, they keep playing with the statistics. They keep telling you that the death toll keeps going up, keeps going up, keeps going up. They tell you the COVID numbers are going up, 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 and up. But interesting, the people that are like usually the ones that are, anti-mask, they wear it when they absolutely have to, they're not the ones getting tested. So if all the people that are running around wearing the mask are the ones getting tested, what does that tell you about the masks? Well, the CDC's already told us that the masks really aren't effective. Let's see, let's go back here. Let's see here. Bobby mentioned I was already crazy before this virus, so it's kind of normal for me. Yes, Bob, we know for sure, brother. That we do. Teresa mentioned $1,200 doesn't cover a thing. And no, that's exactly right. For a lot of folks, $1,200, it doesn't do much. And especially depending, again, you always have to keep in mind an economy of scale. What is $1,200 going to do if you have a studio apartment in, say, New York City? What is it going to buy you? 10 days of rent? If you're lucky. If you're in a rural area anywhere in the rural parts of America, $1,200 might be your mortgage and your car payment and a couple dollars for some groceries. So there's definitely an economy of scale. So this Band-Aid approach of one approach fixes all is something that just doesn't work at all. I mean, it's great that we're getting our money back, but at the same time, it's also hurting because, again, you're going to give certain people $1,200. That's not going to help them very much. Other people, it might be, I don't want to say too much, but it is certainly something that could help them get ahead, too, if they spend their money wisely. John Galt mentioned here, we still have all the money from the stimulus checks and everyone in my household. We never spent it. See, and that's what you got to do. Call it the chestnut fund. You just kind of put that away like a squirrel, put it in a hole, and you pull it all out for a rainy day. Christine mentioned, I think an individual decision based on one's health and assessing risk as it relates to vaccines and everything else. John Galt mentioned here, I could have rubbed Vicks on your chest for you. See, that's what happens when you when you come from a Hispanic household, though. You ever notice that? You get a little bit of Robitussin and some Vicks. Doesn't matter what kind of ailment you have. You could have broke a bone. You could have, stubbed your toe. None of it matters. No matter what kind of thing, your mom will put Vicks on you. It was kind of always the craziest thing. But anywho, it's true. Robitussin and Vicks. If that don't fix things, I don't know what will. Oh, man. All right, guys, I'll need to take my first break here. When we come back, I need to get into a couple different things here. Did you know that, according to one researcher, that your Trump signs, your Trump flags, you're scaring and traumatizing black folks? I bet you didn't know that. Well, you're going to find out about that when we come back.
Watch. Pray. For you not know what hour the Son of God will return. Prophecy. New World Order. Terrorism. Economic collapse. Wars. Pandemics. Israel. When they say peace, then cometh sudden destruction. Volcanic eruptions, earthquakes, signs in the heavens. Keep up with world news and events you hear on GJRB's News on the Hour. Go to End Time Headlines at www.endtimeheadlines.org. With a lot of chaos happening, keep in touch with End Time Headlines and GJRB.
Recently, the owner of Facebook had to face Congress over personal information on Facebook users. In addition, users were saying that their postings were being deleted. Getting sick and tired of your censorship and your data being used without your permission? Do something about it now. Come to MeWe, the internet social site that values your freedom. No more deleted postings. Make a step to freedom. Sign up today. It's easy. Go to www.MeWe.com. That's M-E-W-E. MeWe, the internet's free speech social site.
America's Street Music is back on GJRB Bluegrass with the Grass Golds, Bill Monroe and his Bluegrass Boys, and so much more. So it's time to bring it back, and on more often. It's Bluegrass Jubilee Freestyle, with all the great songs you heard before, and some new up-and-coming stars with some emerging bluegrass. Also, some all-time gospel favorites, too. Tune in every Wednesday at 12 o'clock noon Central, 1 p.m. Eastern, and 10 a.m. Pacific on the GJRB Online Network.
Coast to coast and way out there, fans, listen up. If you like UFO conspiracies, ghosts, and the paranormal, you'll love Spaced Out Radio, Spreaker's answer to Coast AM, with more interesting guest experts in the paranormal and UFOs each month. If you like Way Out There, you'll love Spaced Out Radio. Own the night with Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott, nightly at 11 p.m. Central, 12 o'clock midnight Eastern, and 9 p.m. Pacific, on Spreaker, on Periscope, and on D-Talk Radio Network.
The blues, the primary start to rock and roll music, the music in which artists express their feelings through music. This is a new blues show featuring the best of the blues, with new emerging artists getting their thrill of hearing their selections played along with the greats like Muddy Waters, B.B. King, and Etta James, along with a whole lot more. The doors open soon to the Blues House on GJRB. End times are upon us, and we need to know what's happening. Knowing the truth is key to survival. There are lots of news events going on in the world that have certain significance to end-time happenings. Listen, as men and women gather to discuss the news and how it lines up with Bible prophecy on the last 7 days. Uploaded to go public every Thursday at 6 p.m. Central, and run live every third Friday at 1 p.m. Central, 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific on GJRB. Suicide's increasing among the youth, and many of them playing suicide games. This has to stop. Parents, watch your kids, and if you feel there's something going on and they are considering suicide, please talk to them, help them. And if it seems hopeless, call the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. That number is 1-800-273-8255. They can help. It's free and confidential. Your call will be answered by a trained counselor in a local crisis center. The National Suicide Prevention Lifeline can help.
Welcome back to the Caramel Conservative Podcast here as we're approaching the 9 o'clock hour Central Standard Time. Welcome you guys back here. Thank you very much for sticking on board with us. Make sure you guys are checking out our website. Check us out here at plusultramedia.com. That's where you're going to find all the past shows, the new show STS that I'm doing here, video podcast, and more. And we'll be talking about the friends of the show a little later on here tonight. Got some phenomenal shows that I'd love to give a shout out to. So we'll talk about that a little tonight. But live call-in number here, 920-376 376-9400. I got to learn how to, God, man. Yeah, welcome back, Slacker. That's what happens when you get old, man. But anyway, live call-in number 920-376-9400. If you want to call in and be a part of the show, make sure you guys do that if you got something you want to chime in on, or if you just want to throw something new out onto the table. So 2 weeks before the election, we'll be talking about that in a little more detail, but there's always some nonsense stories that we got to get into. And I feel like I have to justify this each and every time, but these nonsense stories, these popular culture stories, these are more important than you realize. The importance of them is that you have to understand that this is the BS. I was going to say knowledge and BS, but it's not knowledge. This is the ignorance and BS that's being funneled to your children, whether it be in the public school system, the private school system, the collegiate system. You know, when we get into things like popular culture and stuff like that, this is the crap that you like to tend to dismiss because, my God, I'm an adult. I don't watch cartoons no more. But your kids watch it, and they're being indoctrinated with this garbage. So you got to be very careful and selective, or if you're going to let them watch it, you need to understand and try to talk to them like, this isn't reality. I hope you know that, right? Well, it should be. It's a damn cartoon. There are no Greenland aliens named Zim and a robot minion. You know, but as ridiculous as that might sound, it's a little more plausible than what this Brown University research instructor has to say. So the story here comes from the Blaze, but apparently did you know that if you have your Trump sign and your Trump flags, you are scaring and traumatizing black people? Yes, you heard me right. You are scaring and traumatizing black people. Now, before I get into this story, I remember in the 90s in particular, early to mid 90s, there was a lot of folks there, and I got no problem. If you want to say that, you know what, I come from a long line of conquerors, and, you know, we were the cradle of civilization and all that other good stuff, God bless you. But if you were kings and queens of Africa, if you were from the cradle of civilization, and you move forward 5 or 6 millennia, and flags and signs scare you and traumatize you, then how far the mighty have fallen. It tells me that you have went from living on the hilltop to being in the stratosphere to being a base animal. And I like to think that brothers and sisters across the board, whether you're black, white, green, yellow, polka dot, plaid, or Asian, you are more than just some base animal. You are a human fucking being endowed with all of the goodness and all of the potential that God has bestowed upon you. And for you to feel scared or traumatized, it speaks that you aren't even scratching the surface of your potential. It tells me that all you know how to do is be a victim. So the story goes here. There's a young lady, postdoctoral researcher associate at Brown University. Her name is Carrie Cruz Bueno. And she's gone viral after complaining that Trump 2020 flags and even the American flag strikes fear in the hearts of black people. Yes, you heard that right. That even the American flag strikes fear in the hearts of black people. Bueno made the remarks on social media where they soon went viral. As highlighted in Campus Reforms, Bueno, an economics researcher, said that she recently stayed at a Maine Airbnb that, very disconcertingly, had Trump signs in the yard. Bueno added that the Airbnb clearly doesn't understand the trauma black people experience in seeing such signs. So I wonder what that trauma is. Like actually having a job, actually feeling good about yourself, actually knowing that if your kid goes to a historically black college, that there's been more federal funds given to it than by any other president in the past. Oh, if that trauma, sign me up, man. Bueno described the experience, which she said left her immediately scared. She had when oh God, I gotta start this again. This is too good. Bueno described the experience, which she said left her immediately scared. She had when renting a property with her husband. She explained that when she arrived at the rental, a privately owned property over which Airbnb has no control, she saw Trump signs and other white nationalist symbols. I'm going to stop right there. Why is it that Trump signs are supposedly white nationalist symbols? And I bet you if you dig further into this, what are those white nationalist symbols? Because at this point, the left just make things up as they go along. It is absolutely disgusting because, you know, you could take something as innocent and innocuous as the American flag. Well, that's white symbol. No, that's, you know, e pluribus unum. Well, you know what? If you think that's white power thing, then you should think that about your money. Why don't you hand it on over here? Hook a brother up over here. Bueno said that the display immediately made her terrified and scared for her life and her family's safety. Disappointed that Airbnb doesn't understand the trauma of Trump signs on an Airbnb rental causes black people, she wrote, according to the outlet. Bueno said she contacted Airbnb, but the company predictably said their hands were tied in the matter as the residence is privately owned. She then went on to blast the company for being only words and no actions, and called for a Green Book version of Airbnb so persons of color would not have to pay to feel uncomfortable and scared. Elsewhere, during her Twitter rant, Bueno recalled the top 5 symbols that strike fear in the hearts of black people. This includes things such as KKK hoods, the Confederate flag, but also lists the American flag. Yes, this is a symbol used in many places to scare black people, she insisted. Wow. And this woman is going to be at some point a doctor. Not an MD, by the way. It's just, some people's children, and she's actually paying to, espouse this bullshit. In a statement, Brown University Students for Trump President Emma Ray Phillips told Campus Reform that she was disappointed in Bueno's remarks. Phillips, an economics major, said that the researchers' tweets do not seem to show much understanding for how free markets work. Phillips added, American flags and Trump signs are not racist in any way, shape, or form. You can see the full list of Bueno's tweets below. At the time of the reporting, Bueno's Twitter feed settings had been set to private. Oh, what a surprise. And, of course, they have a bunch of the Twitter feeds here, which I don't really want to get into, but it's just amazing. Again, I think it's just easier to play the victim and to bitch, moan, complain, yell on top of your lungs, kind of go along with the old mantra that the squeaky gear gets the grease. And it's comical of these people that they don't even feel any sense of shame, embarrassment, or anything else. This idea that, oh my God, it terrifies me. Woman, you were supposed to be stronger than this. Like, you're a grown-ass woman who is married, possibly with kids, and this terrifies you? And then to make matters even more interesting, if it really bothered you that bad, why are you staying there? Why didn't you go to a Motel 6? You probably would feel a little more at home there. Oh, did I just say that? Yeah, I did. Because you ain't going to see anybody's flag at a Motel 6. I mean, you and I have to worry about crackheads and hookers, but that's, go to wherever you're comfortable. Damn, Teresa, what, you got a blizzard over there? 7 inches of snow. That sounds dirty, too. Oh, man. No, thank you. Even veterinarians are doctors. Oh, man. Let's see here in the chat room, John Galt mentioned here, they weren't scared during the Barbary slave trade. That's a good point. A good point. He also mentioned these are the same people who thought Che Guevara was a good guy. Tim Pool talked about this. I've talked about this. I've seen other people talk about this. Joe Rogan's talked about this. You got a lot of these pro-leftist, militant type, Antifa type, these kind of folks. These are the type of people that think they're going to get at the seat at the table should their political party end up getting power. And if history teaches us anything, all you need to do is think of the Night of the Long Knives. For those of you who are not familiar with that, just think of when Hitler actually got power and he ended up purging his militant wing that kept wanting more and more power. And he decided to shut that stuff down with no exception. And so, 7 inches of snow. God. Yes, Bobby, hookers and crack. Some people are comfortable around that type of stuff. I don't know why, I'm just saying, if an American flag offends you and a nice little Airbnb is something that you're not comfortable with, there are options. They're not pleasant options, but they are options nonetheless. But yeah, this is somebody who at some point is going to be teaching, writing, and doing all kinds of other garbage. I think what's even more frustrating about that is that she's actually somebody who's being taken seriously, incredibly. So, do you guys remember the Kenosha riots not too long ago? All the nonsense that happened out there. And then, of course, we had Kyle Rittenhouse who came in there with the other individuals, militia members, independent people, to try to put a stop to the rioting or at the very least protect property and lives. So I've always been fascinated with the aspect that the left use projection, and they are damn good at it. They are damn good at it. Because if you take a look at all the folks that were out there that were causing the most chaos, confusion, violence, and everything else, yeah, you had a lot of black folks out there that were involved in that. But the bulk of the people that were causing that kind of nonsense were white folks, were the white Antifa folks. Okay? Now, I know it kind of sounds crazy that we have to bring up race on this over and over and over again. But just take a look at all the riots, all the garbage that has happened over the last several months, and who has been the agitators in all of this. It has been the white Antifa people. These are the ones that have started the riots. These are the ones that have planted the bricks. These were the ones that had actually gone out there and instigated this violence and got the mob all riled up. Like, these people were already pissed off to begin with. And now you're going to introduce the element of hostility and to provoke a reaction, which is going to get other people to react even more violent. You know, taking this to levels of escalation to where the powder keg's going to pop. And that's what we had down in Kenosha. Like, nobody in Kenosha should have been rioting over this jackass. Nobody. You know, if you wanted to protest, hey, you know what? I get it. I get it to a certain point. You have a problem with the fact that he was shot in the back 7 times. You know what? I get that. Maybe they should have drop kicked him instead. You know, they would have, no matter what, the police were in a no-win situation there. But if you drop kicked him, at least he'd still be able to walk at some other point. He'd be embarrassed because, you know, how do you get arrested? I got drop kicked. Maybe they should have done that, but it doesn't matter. So all these agitators, what they're recently doing now, apparently they're going out on social media, and they're not just doxing people. They're not just looking for, you know, to get your information or just to argue with you online. Apparently what they're doing now, and this comes from the the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel, as we like to call it, the dead tree, the urinal sentinel. Apparently what they're doing is they're now printing out people that were against the riots and people that were saying, you know, militia people should just go in there and start kicking ass. They're going out posting this stuff, printing it out, posting it, and putting it on walls in public. Okay? So according to this story here, protesters print out and tape troublesome Facebook posts on real wall in Kenosha demonstration. In large printed and taped to a real wall at a busy intersection, some Facebook posts about August's Kenosha protests and fatal aftermath seem even more repulsive than they do on a phone or a computer screen. That was the point being made at a small protest Friday morning. That's this past Friday. Facebook has known all along about its effect on society, said one of the organizers, Nathan Pete. Now society is starting to realize Facebook's impact on it. Pete and 3 other protesters present during the August unrest that followed a police shooting of Jacob Blake have sued Facebook and 3 other men who brought rifles to the demonstration, claiming Facebook's negligence about messaging on its platform helped ferment the violence in Kenosha. Stop right there. Stop right there. Because Facebook has been deplatforming people all over the place. Conservatives, whether you're part of a group, whether you're an individual, whether you're part of a media conglomerate. Hell, you could be part of the Trump administration, and Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, you name it. All these folks, they are banning, shadow banning. You might still be able to post content. I'm posting content on a daily basis now, and I can tell you unequivocally, a lot of my stuff is not getting the reach that it once did. Now, I haven't been banned outright, but it's happening. And so to say that Facebook hasn't throttled things back, but they're going to go ahead and allow Antifa and BLM to coordinate their new riot spots and to do all their other things. Do you guys remember the so-called Antifa soup can drive? Yeah. When was the last time Antifa's been known for having a soup kitchen? What do you think they use the soup cans for? Weapons. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward. So that's kind of a line of garbage right there. The plaintiffs included Hannah Gittens, whose boyfriend Huber was killed by Kyle Rittenhouse. Huber was killed just up the street from Friday's incident. You tried to take this kid's rifle from him. That in and of itself is an act of violence, and you paid a price. You shouldn't have chased him, number one. You shouldn't have been out there, and you did both, and you paid a price. Can't feel bad for you. One of the posts taped to the wall on 63rd Street and Sheridan Road was one with Huber's picture describing him as a deceased terrorist. Gittins said, "Someone made this horrible joke about my boyfriend. He's dead. Sorry, your boyfriend was a terrorist. He was a domestic terrorist." And again, this is one of those fascinating things that the left like to do. They like to turn an issue around and make it look like they're the victims. Poor me. He wasn't doing anything. He was just protecting. He wasn't protecting a damn thing. If you look into it, this is the guy who was yelling, calling Kyle, saying, "Go ahead," dropping the N-bomb. And I believe he was one of the guys that was involved with trying to get that dumpster fire going and pushing it toward the gas station to blow it up. So for them to sit there and make it seem like, oh, my poor boyfriend, your poor boyfriend put himself in the line of fire. And I do not feel bad for him one bit. And I know it's a terrible thing to say, people like, well, you want people to die. Well, if you're going to do something stupid like that and you're planning on blowing up stuff, yeah. And I'm going to be very unapologetic about it, too. You play stupid games, you're going to get stupid rewards. That's kind of really all there's to it. So Pete Gittins and Chris McNeil taped up about a dozen posts they say were written leading up in the wake of the August 25th violence. They said they hope other activists will make similar public walls of hateful Facebook posts in their cities. Some showed of George Floyd smoking multiple bongs at the phrase, "I can't breathe," amongst other racist memes. I'm sorry, that's not racist, number one. Is it dark humor? Yeah, it is. And your point? One was of a message, "Kenosha is not Portland, we shoot back." There have been law enforcement officers said that exact same thing. "We're not Portland, we will shoot back." With the response that Wauwatosa police should have hired Kyle Rittenhouse. "It's time to open our eyes and say enough is enough," McNeil said. "People get brave behind a keyboard," Gittins said, "but Facebook is real life." She said anyone going by Friday's effort would shelter their children from the kinds of statements or sentiments the words reveal and would likely tear down the statements much more quickly than Facebook does. Besides Facebook, the lawsuit names other defendants: Rittenhouse, an older rifle-carrying man who was with him that night, Ryan Balk, and Kevin Mathewson, a former Kenosha alderman who started the page Kenosha Guard and encouraged armed people to come out and protect property. The lawsuit accuses the men of conspiring to violate plaintiff's civil rights. Wait a minute. So me assembling people to protect life and property is a violation of your civil rights? You burning down businesses, threatening our lives, but me defending it is a violation of your civil rights. This just smells like an uphill battle to me. The Kenosha Guard and the Boogaloo Boys, an informal group that advocates a race war in America, which is not true, by the way, are also named as defendants. None have yet filed answers to the lawsuit, and they probably won't. Facebook did issue a statement, removed the shooter's Facebook and Instagram accounts, and took action against organizations and content related to Kenosha. "We have found no evidence that suggests a shooter followed the Kenosha Guard page or that he was invited to the event they organized." And then it goes on a little bit here about Kyle Rittenhouse, which we don't need to get into anymore. But again, the left, they're over here projecting themselves, especially this young lady, the girlfriend. "Oh, my poor boyfriend, he didn't." Now, if I remember correctly, this is the bald guy, right? This is a guy who was a sex offender. Now, I know a lot of people want to say that, well, what does his past crimes have to do with anything? Well, it speaks to the character of the person. I mean, it's kind of really what it is. And then you got the people that are talking about, well, Kyle Rittenhouse had no business there. Yeah, he kind of did. He worked in Kenosha. He lived 20 minutes away. And if Kyle Rittenhouse didn't have any business over there, living 20 minutes away, then I'm guessing one of the other guys that got shot, who lived in West Allis, had no business in Kenosha either, which is approximately, guess what, 20 minutes away. Maybe it's just me. And I've said this before, nobody had any damn business out there. They had a curfew at like 7 or 8 o'clock at night. Nobody had any damn business out there. They all should have just went back home. And a lot of this would have been avoided. But again, this was the left. They got to push the envelope. And I think that is what happened that night is exactly what they wanted to have happen. You know, you push people far enough, eventually you are going to get somebody to push back. And there's this idea, I think, amongst the left is that they're going to keep pushing until eventually people are going to get tired. They're actually banking on people not pushing back. But that kind of logic, that kind of thinking flies in the face of actual true logic and actual true thinking. You can only, you can take a dog and you can only beat it so many times before that dog's going to turn on you and bite your head off or something. And I think in the same way, not comparing, conservatives to dogs or anything, but you keep kicking and beating down and punching and scratching, kicking, yelling, eventually somebody's going to react to that. And what you saw in Kenosha was exactly what they wanted to have happen. And I think they should consider themselves very fortunate that it didn't get worse for both sides. Unequivocally, for both sides, because it could have been far, far worse. And I think I'm very frustrated by this. I'm frustrated at this projection. I'm frustrated with this idea that, we're supposed to feel sympathetic or feel bad for these people, that in some way, they're the victims, when in reality, it's not. Oh, what do we got here? I just got a text here. There's a nonprofit in our area that's going on about Black Lives Matter. Oh, boy, oh, boy, oh, boy. This is an organization that their CEO likes to carry on about, what was it? The fight for 15, pay people $15 an hour, but at the same time, they don't even pay their own employees $15 an hour. It's actually rich material. Oh, it's good stuff here. All right, what do we got next up here on deck? We got a lot of stuff. Did you guys hear about Joe Buck and Troy Aikman? Now, I don't know about you guys, but I don't really get into sports. I don't get into the NFL, Major League Baseball, NBA. Don't get me wrong. You got the highlight reel. I'll watch it. It's entertaining. I can respect the athleticism and everything else, but I am, for one, truly looking forward to the death of the NFL and the NBA. And apparently, just the other day here, Troy Aikman and Joe Buck here, they made a comment, and this was during a game between the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Green Bay Packers. There was a flyover. Military jets had flown over, and there was a hot mic. For those of you that aren't familiar with a hot mic, the mic is on. You don't realize that it's on. You say something, and it's caught by a lot of folks. Well, anyway, so the flyover happens, and here's what the commentary. That's a lot of jet fuel just to do a little flyover, Aikman said. Joe Buck joked, that's your hard-earned money and your tax dollars at work. Aikman responds by saying, that stuff ain't happening with a Kamala Biden ticket. Notice how he put Kamala first. I'll tell you that right now, partner. Again, the elitist attitude that somehow the Democrat, the benevolence, and the disrespect to our military. Absolutely incredible. Did you guys hear about this one here? Oh, we're blowing up. Now, before I get to the caller here, I want to get into this one real quick here. So, anytime I hear teachers say that, hey, I'm teaching and it's a noble profession, I'm with you on that. Anytime that you say teaching's a calling, you know what? I'm kind of with you on that. Anytime you say we're all going to call in sick because we don't agree with this policy, I'm going to call you a goddamn liar, because it's no longer a calling. It's no longer a nobility. It's no longer about the children. Because in Idaho, over 600 teachers for 2 days in a row called out sick because of COVID, because they're scared. They're worried about the safety. But these are the same people that going out grocery shopping every single damn day. Now, I don't live in Idaho, but I'm telling you, there are people like that out here. And these are the same people that I see complaining on social media all the time. But they're the ones that are talking, socializing in a grocery store within like 2 or 3 feet of each other because they don't know what the hell, like, personal space is, much less social distancing. But boy, they look, you walk in there without a mask, boy, they look at you like if you got cooties and you are the boogeyman. Caller, what's up?
Brother Ed, how's it going? It's Brother Hilario here.
How the hell are you, man?
Oh, I'm living life. I'm enjoying. We are right now 2 weeks away from retiring a man who has been in politics for 47 years. So it's getting exciting. It's getting interesting.
He's going to retire no matter what by the end of the year, right?
Well, remember that picture I sent you? Even if he wins, they're going to have him jump across those little rocks, and there's going to be a claymore there.
I was going to say that
something like that pressure point.
That second rock looked very, very ominous.
Yes, but they'll have him start from the very beginning all the way on where the land is, and then they'll have him hop, 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 and then kaboom,
hop, hop, boom.
Oh no, Joe Biden's gone. Joe Biden's gone. Uh-oh.
Hey,
well, it looks like Kamala's in charge now.
Hey, somebody call Corn Pop. Let them know what happened to Joe.
Corn Pop needs a phone call.
Oh, hell, man. So you excited for Thursday, man?
Ooh, I am excited. I am so excited for this next debate. Okay, so we got a couple things going on here in Wisconsin. Now, let me lay it out for you.
Break it down.
So tomorrow, I got to get up early because I'm going to go have a meeting with Bob Denault, Chris Lawrence, and some other conservative business people and talk about the upcoming round game laying out here in Milwaukee and the surrounding areas, about dropping lit, et cetera, certain events that we're having going on. And then after that, that will be tomorrow. Then after that, I'll be going to Women for Trump bus tour at our Latinos for Trump office. Got to get some Women for Trump signs so I can hand them out to some people in the neighborhood.
Wait a minute. You said Latinos for Trump. Now, when you say Latinos, you're using the OS. The OS is a plural to be inclusive of the masculine term and of the feminine to mean more than one gender, but not less than two. Mm-hmm. So when you say Latinos, right, you're saying for male and female Hispanics, or why not use Latinx? Because,
well, you know, there's only two genders.
Thank you.
You don't go say Latinos and just keep going with the S.
But go on because I got to ask you about that here. I got to ask you about that when you're done. So keep breaking down the agenda because you got a lot of stuff there.
Oh yeah, so we got an office on 725 West Mitchell Street, and it's going to be a good group. And then I'm going to go there with flyers to hand out for our trunk or treat event on this Sunday. And we're going to have people come, bring their cards, hand out candy to the little kids, and a little constitutional booklet pamphlets so they know their constitutional rights.
Did you say trump or treat?
Also going to have Clarence trunk or treat.
Oh, trunk or treat. I was like, God, I hope he didn't say Trump or tweet. Oh, that would have been
Trump or tweet. Oh my God,
that would have been
great. But anyways,
cringe.
We're going to have Clarence Henderson come before that, and he obviously a well-known historical icon when it comes to the civil rights. He will come and he was at the RNC, gave his speech, and endorsed President Trump. So he'll come, meet with the people at the office, talk, he'll get pictures, and he'll go on his merry way. We'll have our event with the Halloween thing. And obviously the debate's on Thursday, so we'll put that in between the tour and the Halloween event. And then after that, I'm just going to keep going and knocking on doors left and right, here and there, neighborhood to neighborhood, get as many doors done as we can,
Right.
get people literature. Most people made up their mind, but there's those few people that are just unsure because they either haven't paid attention or were focused on other things. Maybe they're just not really informed.
Well, I think there's still a lot of people that
so
are
we got
kind of.
that going on.
I think there's still a lot of people that are still. I don't want to say they're necessarily on the fence. I think they're certainly leaning one way or the other. But I think, in a lot of ways, if you think about it, October has become a lot like herpes. It is the gift that keeps giving.
Yes, it does.
It is ridiculous what we've experienced this month. And I think what is comical to me is that the October surprises are coming from the right this time instead of from the left. And the left doesn't know what to do. Like, Hunter
They got
Biden
their
running
head in the sand.
Now they got their head in a crack pipe is what they got.
Bunter Hyden.
Bunter Hyden. If you guys post anything, a few people, Hilario was telling me, he's like, yeah, don't post anything about Hunter Biden because your stuff will get flagged right away. So go with Bunter Hyden. Bunter Hyden. They're Facebook fact checkers and scanners or whatever, Big Brother, Third Eye. They got to be working overtime, man. I wish I was working for Facebook. I'd be flagging stuff all over the place just to do it. Like, I'd just be messing with people. I'd put a little message. I actually think this is hilarious, but I got to flag it because they're going to give me like a $300 bonus for every flag I do. So, yeah. I know, I'm fact-checking Snoopy. He doesn't talk. I get that, but whatever, man.
He's getting the flag. Everyone gets a flag. You get a flag. You get a flag. Hey, you up there, you get a flag. Oh, my God. But, yeah, so that's just what we're having happen this week alone. We got more events coming up in the next 2 weeks. We're working on trying to get people we're driving them to the polls so that they can vote early. They don't want to vote on Election Day. Just today alone, driving home from the office in Red Arrow Park, there was a Black Lives Matter protest. There's a couple hundred of them out there.
Sure.
And they had buses and RVs and all kinds of shit. The flags, the guy on a microphone, tents set up. Oh my God! They were ready to march.
But
were
they
Hopefully
doing
not
so?
towards our office.
But were they doing so peaceably?
Yes, they were doing their constitutional right of peaceful protest, and the media was there, of course.
Then God bless them. You know what I mean? I don't agree with them, but they do have that right. I think my issue is that when you start espousing a message that is essentially overthrow of our government, when you're literally talking sedition, I think it's one thing to sit here and talk shit. It's another to be like, no, we have to crush the system. I was like, okay, you're getting a little dark here, and you really don't want the rest of us to come on in because that's when things get bad. And so I have a problem with that. And, of course, when your protest leads to riots, well, that's a whole nother altogether.
That's when you lose all credibility.
Now, what are you seeing down in the Milwaukee area in terms of enthusiasm? Because when you take a look at, Milwaukee, it's a medium-sized city here in the United States, and it is certainly, I think, a microcosm for other major metropolitan areas.
Well, from what I can see is a lot, like, on the Trump side. Well, people who are already supporting Biden, they already get signs out and stuff. There's like, no enthusiasm. Except for one house on Lake Drive. Every time I pass it by, there's like a new sign out there every day. So they got flags, they got everything. Oh my God, this person's a nut. And they're going to be the ones probably rioting out in the streets after Biden, if Biden loses, which he will. So what I'm seeing on the Republican side and the Trump
is Dan Bice, isn't it?
It's starting to pick up more momentum. What?
It's Dan Bice's house, isn't it?
Yeah, might as well be.
Might as well.
So what I can see from the Republican side and the Trump supporter side, a lot more supporters are starting to put out their signs.
Mhm.
A lot more supporters are wearing their gear. I just went to Walmart yesterday. Everyone can laugh. I don't care. I had to pick up something for the office.
Sure.
And I saw a Trump supporter's car in the parking lot. I was like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god! If I run into these people, I gotta talk to them. This is like you don't really get a chance to do that in
Right.
like a public store or anything like that. Most people are very quiet when they go shopping.
Mhm.
I had my hat on, and I said, well, if I see them, I'll talk to them. If not, I'll just go on my merry way.
Right.
So yeah, I went to get what I need, and they almost bashed his cart into my cart by accident. And I saw that they had their shirts on, they had their hats,
Ooh,
and
nice.
these were two women.
Right.
And I said, I pointed at the shirt, I'm with him. And I said, I'm a field organizer for the president's campaign. And the lady looked at me, she said, bullshit. So I said, hold on. I said, hold on. Look. And I pulled out my card, and I like, look, this is my business card. I work for the campaign.
Right.
And I just have to say the president truly appreciates the support that you guys are doing by wearing your Trump shirts and just out here working hard, doing what you need to do, wearing the head Trump mask.
Right.
So it was easy. And we had a wonderful, not 10-minute conversation, not 20-minute conversation, but a wonderful 45-minute, almost an hour conversation. Just there in the store. I had to take off my mask. It was hard to talk with it on
Right.
and breathe at the same time. So we were just standing there, no mask on. I mean, it was in my hand just in case. And no one bothered us.
Yeah.
No one got in the way. Hell, even a lady, while we were talking, overheard what we were saying, and she says, ain't that the truth? And then went on with her merry way. So
That's always
it was
cool.
wonderful. And these two ladies, and these two ladies, they were both former Democrats. They voted for Barack Obama
Mhm.
twice, and they voted for Hillary Clinton.
Yep.
It wasn't until these riots and these protests kind of started after 2016, and now
Mhm.
they were slowly inching over to support conservatives and the president, and now
Right.
they're some of the biggest fans I've ever met of
Yeah.
the president. They said they watch every rally. I said, me too. I do. Well, I watch as many as I can, so I am on the clock for him.
Right.
But it was phenomenal. So meeting these two ladies, it's hearing their story.
Mhm.
It really shows big the silent majority really is. And you know what? It's not that we're the silent majority. It's not even that. We are. It's just the media doesn't cover us. We're the loud majority. We're out here having boat parades, having rallies going out, having car parades
Right.
as far as the eye can see. But yet the media doesn't cover it because it doesn't fit their narrative that they want to discourage Trump supporters like they tried to do in 2016 and saying that, oh, well, why even go vote because Joe Biden's going to win? Why go
Mhm.
vote because Hillary Clinton's going to win? It's their big game that they've played for many, many years.
Well,
And we're just sick and tired
Well,
of it.
and look how much they've amped it up. I mean, like I said, you take a look at what, the tech media companies like Google and Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and YouTube. Look at what they're all doing. They're throttling back. They're making it harder and harder to find these things. Even when we specifically look for a particular episode or whatever, which is why I always advocate, especially when it comes to conservative media content, especially on new media such as this, share these episodes out because this is the way that you're going to get the word out here. This is how you're going to help these folks get their message across. And, it's interesting because when you talked about, you wanted to encounter folks with their Trump signs and stuff or their Trump paraphernalia. it was funny because up here, I mean, obviously we got a lot more Trump supporters and stuff. So you don't really worry too much about a threat of, hostilities. But for someone like me, I mean, I always have toys with me. But it's funny because when I'll go certain places and I'll see somebody with like a Trump hat or a Trump mask, and I'll look at them and I'm like, that's a damn fine mask you got on. And they look at me kind of like a little weird because it's like, what's this darky saying to me? And I reach in my pocket because I keep my mask with me just in the event that I have to put it on. Like for the most part, I'm not gonna do it. But if I gotta play the game, I'll play the game. Fine. Like when I have to go to Menards, they're kind of rough when it comes to that. But I pull it up and there's my Trump 2020 mask, and all of a sudden it's like, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Here's a funny story that happened to me Friday. So, and I was telling my wife about this. So I'm at this one store, and I'm not wearing my mask or anything, whatever. And part of it was because I was on my actual job, and I'm not going to say too much about what I do professionally, but
I think you kill people.
I put this surgical mask on, just whatever. And I see this young lady. She's probably in her mid-20s. And I mean, she was, good looking girl. And she had her little girl with her. It's a cute little picturesque little, mom and daughter type thing. And there she was with her Trump 2020 mask on. And I'm looking at this young lady, and I'm thinking to myself, and I'm kind of a little shamed, right? I'm like, wow, here's this little lady with her baby, and this girl couldn't have been more than 5 feet tall, like just little thing. And I'm thinking, she's got her Trump 2020 mask on, and there's me and my big self, and most people aren't stupid enough to mess with me. And I don't have my Trump 2020 mask on when I have to put one. Nah. So I had to swap masks on because it was like, you know what? If this young lady can show that kind of bravery, then you know what? You got to step up your game, and that's just all there's to it. And no, I don't kill everybody I don't kill people for a living.
You are a hired hitman. I guarantee you that's why you don't want to talk about it.
No, man, I try to separate what I do professionally from what I do here, just so I don't cross it too. You know what I mean? I mean, there's certain little stories that I like to share, and yeah, they do cross over, but I don't go too much into it because my employer is, they try to stay as apolitical as possible, and I like to respect that. So what I do on my time is mine, and what, happens on their time is theirs. Let's see here. John Galt mentioned that if the media covered it, that would give Republicans hope, and others see Republican and conservatives aren't as bad as they think they are. And again, this is the importance of sharing out content such as this and, others, because, the two biggest podcasters out there right now, I always go back to Joe Rogan, I always go back to Tim Pool, Steven Crowder, other folks like that. You got to get that content out there because that's the stuff that the media is not showing you. And this is the stuff that when they're actually dealing with the everyday people that, let's say, especially Crowder, change my mind. Well, he'll have that conversation with you. And you ever notice sometimes he actually changes opinions there after having that conversation.
Yep, and they don't like that. They don't like that because they know they don't want people to really think for themselves. Look at the way that they were treating Amy Coney Barrett. Basically, they didn't like that she could think for herself, and she questioned them on that. Like, oh, you think it's not right for me to think for myself? Huh?
Oh,
like,
yeah.
What are you thinking?
Well, what did she say? She was like, yeah, I hope you're not suggesting that I have to think along the lines of Scalia. It's like, yeah, we share the same philosophy, but I can think for myself. Thank you very much.
So, and that's what they're afraid of. And, remember when I came on last time and I said, I think a coworker of mine that I work with in the office, and myself were able to sway 3 Joe Biden
Yes.
supporters.
Yes.
Well, 2 of those people are now, they come all the time to our office, and I even saw them going out on the bus stop and talking to people and trying to get them to understand the policies and the good things that the president has done. And I am just very grateful that we didn't force them
Right.
to change their mind. We gave them the literature, let them decide on their own, and now they're picking up the pieces and taking off like a rocket. It's amazing.
Well, and I think that's the beauty of it is that, it's kind of like what I talk about here on this show. I want people to listen to what I'm saying. I want people to listen to what my guests are saying. But I don't want you to believe it lock, stock, and barrel. What I want you to do is take it for what it is, what you're hearing here. And then I want you to research it for yourself, because my job is to inform you. It is not to tell you what to think, how to think, anything else like that. I want you to take a look at the information that we're giving you here, and then I want you to do the research yourself. Because, Jen says this all the time. All of us have these supercomputers in our pocket, these smartphones. You got Google, Bing, DuckDuckGo. There is no excuse for anyone to be ignorant anymore. Not when you can look these very things up. Hell. Back in the day, you had to use an actual encyclopedia. Today, you just pull up your smartphone and Google it.
Yep. It's truly a great gift, but it's also something that really it hinders our ability with social interaction. Or truly trying to figure out, let's say they do the research.
Yeah.
All right, you spend all your time looking at your phone, getting that information. All right, you lose that kind of social interaction. How do you present that argument back out to someone so that they themselves can know what you're saying and understand what you learned and try to put the pieces together so that they themselves aren't ignorant on a subject? Or if you have the wrong information, they can come back and actually say, "Oh, that's not right. Here's what it is on this source or this source over here." It's a blessing, and it's also our worst enemy at times.
Well, and that's an interesting thing too, because if you think about it, look how many people are just entrenched in what they believe. And what they believe is what they believe, and you can't tell them otherwise. You can't, even with proof, they don't want to hear it. They don't want to, think that, they can possibly be wrong. And, especially, and again, not to disparage anyone in your age group, but, the hell with it. We're going to disparage away. But it's kind of like when someone says, I don't mean to disrespect you, but ... I'm going to do it anyway. It's not my intent, but, here it goes. And I think every group of kids that are, in that 16 to 25 age bracket, everybody thinks they have it figured out. Everyone thinks they have all the answers. And how dare you challenge them? How dare you? Greta.
Greta, how dare you?
How dare you? Yeah, okay. Sit down.
Greta didn't like that.
Yeah, Greta, go back to school. Detention. Well, anyway, but I think it's funny because it really shows a high level of ignorance. Gary, what's going on here, brother? How you doing tonight? It shows an extremely high level of ignorance and arrogance because these people should be willing to put their ideas out there and say, you know what, this is what I know. Prove me wrong. I want you to prove me wrong. I want my ideas to be challenged because my ideas need to be able to withstand scrutiny, or if my ideas are wrong, then I need to correct my way of thinking. So if I am kind of screwing up that way, correct me. Tell me why I'm wrong. Show me how I'm wrong. But if you can't do that, then my ideas have withstood your scrutiny. And a lot of these folks on the left, they don't want that challenge. It's just that's the way it should be. Well, there's a lot of things that should be a particular way but aren't. That's just kind of the way life is.
You're exactly right.
It's just tough all the way around. Greta didn't like that.
Isn't that a great meme?
It's true. Oh, Greta.
So like if you're like having it like I don't know why the left hasn't or like Republicans haven't like picked up on this and just spam that into like chats or whatever. Just one comment after another. How dare you make fun of Greta? Greta didn't like that. Oh, what did it? And then put it again and then again, just to piss these people off. Ah, man, I've learned very well from brother Joe.
Oh, yeah, the meme lord definitely has some. He's got game, I tell you. No, I think a lot of people on the right don't like to do that, especially with her, because she's still a minor. She's somebody who has, you know, cognitive difficulties, and as a parent of somebody that has special needs and cognitive issues akin to hers, I can certainly understand that. The problem is that when you put yourself out there, when you put yourself into the fray,
Yep.
you are a target, no different than me or you
You're
or
fair game.
anyone else. You are fair game. To the average listener that's of any particular show, no, they're generally not fair game because they're not putting themselves out there. But what ended up happening is Bob's absolutely correct. Her parents have exploited her. The left have exploited her. And they have taken this young
Yes,
girl
they have.
and they haven't given her the tools to be able to dissect and discern the truth from the bogus BS that she's been fed. Now, can you believe that climate change is real and that it is an actual threat and still say it's not 100% man-made? I think you certainly can make that argument. I don't agree with that argument, but you can make that argument, you know. And I think that if they had gone about it that way, great. You know what? You're a young lady out here. Let's hear what you got to say. But when you come out here and say, you know what, zero fossil fuels right now, how the hell did you think you got here on that yacht, young lady? How the hell do you think that yacht got built? What do you think is sustaining you? How do you think you're getting all that wonderful food and everything else that you get to eat? How do you think people are managing to survive? Because without that fossil fuels that we dare to consume, we would be living in a time, let's just say we cut it zero to at this point. Could you imagine the devastation worldwide?
Oh, my God. Well, you can't even fathom it. The way these people think about policies and how they believe that, well, we're saving the earth by if we just all jump on board like this. Let's say get rid of all the fossil fuels and going completely green. All right. Well, what about all those people that depend, like you said, depend on those jobs, depend on the income that comes to help their family or feed their farm animals? What about that yellow jacket that yellow rubber coat that she made?
Right.
I wonder how much fossil fuels actually went into making just that individual coat itself. So these people, they don't understand. For people who claim to be very creative, which a lot of them are, especially in art, their ideas don't creatively help us.
No.
They don't. It sounds good on paper, but when you put it into effect, shit just doesn't add up.
Well, and my brother here
doesn't work.
My brother here brought up a really good point here. He said fossil fuels are what bring poor nations out of poverty, and all one needs to do is go to the oil boom of the 1800s into the Industrial Revolution, and it was that very thing, the Industrial Revolution, the internal combustion engine, the fossil fuels that had just expedited the growth of the middle class, not just in America, but worldwide, that has raised the standard of living for so many people. And this is one of those things that just frustrates the hell out of me when I see these communists running out here and they're just rambling on about how you need to tear down the system of all these inequities, and again, I despise that word equality, because equality to them is not equality of opportunity, but it's equality of outcome. And I'm sorry, if you got more
equally poor,
if you have more hustle than I do, then you should reap the benefit of it. I shouldn't get a damn thing out of it. and vice versa. And it's because of that we've been able to grow more food, to have a higher standard of living. I mean, here in America, our poor are fat. And I'm not talking like,
Yeah.
this is before your time. We used to see these like, for just price of a cup of coffee, you could feed this child and give him medicine. And it showed like this poor little African kid who's like wearing a loincloth. His belly's all distended and he's kind of like partially emaciated. I mean, just a tragic commercial. And it was designed to tug at your heartstrings. Those people can be lifted out through this system of capitalism. And yes, there is a point, I think, where capitalism can be abusive. But that's why we have regulations. The John Locke idea of the invisible hand, while it makes sense, you have to have some level of regulation. I think, it gets ridiculous when there's a regulation that determines the amount of sausage on a pizza that constitutes a sausage pizza. No, you shouldn't have a regulation for that. If you don't have enough sausage on the pizza, you're going to go out of business. Don't worry about that. Let the invisible hand guide. But when you're dealing with, I don't know, energy, yeah, you might need some regulation. When you're dealing with social media, you damn sure need regulation. Bob just mentioned on here, I'm not fat, damn it. I have big bones. You know what I've never seen? In all the museums I've ever been to? I have never seen a fat skeleton. Just saying.
That you got a point there.
Man.
But yeah, you're exactly right. These people are, when they do that, it just pisses us all off. A poor country, as long as they indulge, properly get involved with fossil fuels, a country like the United States, if they're in a trade war or putting tariffs on a country, or like, let's say we don't want to trade with Iran. All right, well, then here's this country over here that's kind of poor. Let's give them some money so that we can get their fossil fuels. It will help boost that country up. But these people don't understand that. They think that we should all be sitting in circles, kumbaya, running through the woods with seas and fairies, water sprites, and wood nymphs on a rustic silvery glen. I mean, these people are nuts.
I don't know,
They're
man.
crazy.
I don't know. I've heard enough stories about wood nymphs. I don't want nothing to do with that. There's some evil little bastards,
I've been watching the show Lost, and
yeah,
it's very interesting. It's a really good show, I remember seeing all the commercials when I was a little kid.
It ain't Gilligan's Island.
Yeah, it definitely ain't Gilligan's Island. But it's very interesting. They have the Dharma Initiative and the way that the people were living, and and some people on the island. It was just very interesting how some ideas by Hollywood transfer over to the left, and the way that they began that process of somewhat brainwashing, getting people thinking, hey, you know what, that's not too bad. I like that idea. Well, when you're out surviving in the wilderness or in the world in general, you're going to do what you can to make it to the top so that you out-survive everyone else.
Right.
And in a way that's good, and you can share with others as long as you have more to yourself, and regulate what goes on and what goes out. It's somewhat what capitalism is. It's why it works, because you still have a big supply and everyone is able to work to get what they need,
right,
and then put it right back into the system. So it just keeps going over and over again. Communism is everyone has everything, it's all the same, and well, you're all equally screwed.
Well, and that's to assume, of course, that there's enough of everything to go around. And when you think about it, it is indeed capitalism that is the greatest service to man. And the reason it is the greatest service to mankind is that it allows you to produce a good or a service that fills a void for the average person. That average person will pay a particular price, so long as the market will bear it, that is affordable, and you want people to buy many of your service or good. And because you do that, the price is brought down to a point where everybody can partake of it. You know, probably some of the best examples of that are going to be your cell phones. Yeah, they're ridiculously expensive, but yet people find a way to make it happen. You know, everyone's got a game system. I got a PS4. You know, I mean, everybody's got in on that. Everyone has a flat screen TV. I was at Walmart last week. I mean, there's a 55-inch TV for under $300. You know, so capitalism provides that service, and the advancement of technology coupled with that is what provides these goods to everybody. So, interesting take there. All right, Len, I got to take another break. Do you want to hang on here? Because this next segment, I need to get into Bunter Hyden. And I'd love to give you your take.
Bunter
Bunter.
Bunter Hyden. Yes.
Bunter Hyden.
Bunter Hyden, everyone. All right, I'll hang on.
All right, give us about 4 minutes here, and then we'll be right back.
This is the Caramel Conservative Podcast on the GJRB Online Network. Ed Delgado has his opinions, and he will make them known.
I'm sorry, I got no room in my heart, no mercy in my heart for a child molester, pedophile. To me, when I think about monsters like that, there is only one sentence to me that is acceptable, and that literally is the death penalty.
Politics, entertainment, wide variety of topics.
I like to point out the racial hypocrisy that goes on from the racist left as they try to project that onto the conservatives and the right.
Listen to great talk radio at its best since Rush Limbaugh, the Caramel Conservative. Ed Delgado, Tuesday nights live on Spreaker at 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific Time, here on Spreaker, and rebroadcast Saturdays, just ahead of the Gary Russell program Saturday Extra, on the GJRB Online Network.
Imagine one day tuning around on your internet radio only to find a station playing old radio programs complete with commercials and thinking, what am I tuning into? The past? You might be, or it's just GJRB Online and Radioland. A day of nothing but classic radio shows back to back with classic commercials in between, like the days of radio. Almost like your computer is picking up signals through time. Closer than you'll ever get to time travel. Radioland.
End times are upon us, and we need to know what's happening. Knowing the truth is key to survival. There are lots of news events going on in the world that have certain significance to end time happenings. Listen, as men and women gather to discuss the news and how it lines up with Bible prophecy on the last 7 days. Uploaded to go public every Thursday at 6 p.m. Central and run live every third Friday at 1 p.m. Central, 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific on GJRB. Recently, the owner of Facebook had to face Congress over personal information on Facebook users. In addition, users were saying that their postings were being deleted. Getting sick and tired of your censorship and your data being used without your permission? Do something about it now. Come to MeWe, the internet social site that values your freedom. No more deleted postings. Make a step to freedom. Sign up today. It's easy. Go to www.mewe.com. That's M-E-W-E. MeWe, the internet's free speech social site.
When I was little, I didn't talk for a long time. I was sensitive to lights and sounds, so I built secret hiding places where they couldn't get in. Sometimes I did the same things over and over, until one day I found out I had autism. My family got me help. Slowly, I learned how to live with it better.
Early intervention can make a lifetime of difference. Learn the signs at autismspeaks.org/signs. Brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
America's street music is back on GJRB Bluegrass with the Grass Goals, Bill Monroe and his Bluegrass Boys, and so much more. So it's time to bring it back, and on more often. It's Bluegrass Jubilee Freestyle with all the great songs you heard before and some new up-and-coming stars with some emerging bluegrass. Also, some all-time gospel favorites too. Tune in every Wednesday at 12 o'clock noon Central, 1 p.m. Eastern, and 10 a.m. Pacific on the GJRB Online Network.
When I was little, I didn't talk talk for a long time. I was sensitive to lights and sounds, so I built secret hiding places where they couldn't get in. Sometimes I did the same things over and over, until one day I found out I had autism. My family got me help. Slowly, I learned how to live with it better.
Early intervention can make a lifetime of difference. Learn the signs at autismspeaks.org/signs. Brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
The weird, the strange, the bizarre. Way out fun, way out there. Another show coming soon on GJRB Online.
What's going on, everybody here? Welcome back to the Caramel Conservative Podcast here as we are approaching the 10 o'clock hour here, entering into hour number 3. And I want to thank you guys all here for joining me here tonight. I want to take a moment here to give a couple shout outs. We got a lot of great content creators out there. So make sure you guys check these folks out. These are folks I really enjoy, and I highly recommend you guys check them out, and you'll enjoy them too. So first up on deck, I would strongly suggest you check this man out here. He's in the chat room right now. That's our brother John from OBFSU. The belly is glass and light will shine. You guys got to make sure you check him out. This man here, he is a political phalanx of the podcasting world. He takes a topic, he breaks it down, he's concise, he's to the point, and man, he is hard-hitting. So you definitely got to check him out there when he puts out a show. Great information, great knowledge. Check him out. Then every Monday, 8 a.m. Central Standard Time, I want you to check this gentleman out here, Mike Myers from the Radio Hope Show. You got to make sure you check out Mike. Mike is a great guy because he has a lot of content that centers around family, faith, humility, humanity. It's a phenomenal show. You want to definitely be a part of that. He's got a really good interactive chat room there, so make sure you be a part of that show. Then I know he's putting on a show right now. He's on Facebook Live. You want to check out the Paris Pacopis show. Paris is a friend of mine down in the Milwaukee area. Very well connected, very intelligent. He's got a lot of great conversation, and he loves the ladies that give great minds. So you want to check him out there. A lot of other folks here. You got Gary Russin in the chat room here tonight with the GJRB Online Network. He's got a lot of different shows you're going to want to check out. Everything from the Saturday Extra, Golden Oldies, Way Out There Radio. It's a lot of great stuff there, so you want to check him out. And then, of course, there's a lot of other folks here, like I said earlier. You got the Black Dog Radio Show, the Wicked Pisser Show, Ian C. Jordan. You got David King, who's now on YouTube with Milwaukee You Deserve Better. Alex Garrett Podcasting from New York City. There's so many different shows out there, and I highly suggest you check them out. Make sure whatever you do, you want to make sure you smash that like button, share that content out there, because a lot of these creators, I know they're getting shadow banned themselves. So all the effort, all the extra help you can provide them will help out. And if you need help finding out where their stuff's at, you want to make sure you come over to our website. That's plusultramedia.com. I'm going to throw it up here in the chat room right now. And like I said, that's plusultramedia.com. That's where we got all of our past shows, the current show, the live show, the video broadcast. And when you go up to the tab that says Friends of the Show, you can make sure you check them out right there. You got all their social media links. You got all their podcasting things. And then, of course, yes, follow Hilario De Leon. We got to get Hilario on a podcast at some point, too. Kind of get his own thing going. But we'll work on that with him on the course of time. But make sure you check these guys out. And like I said, whatever you do, smash that like button, subscribe, share. And if you're on YouTube, hit that notification bell so you can get all of the latest updates. It's been a minute since I've done any of these shout outs. You still on there with me, bro?
I'm still here. Getting ready. You know, I put in the chat here. I said, it seems the Bidens have an issue with minors plus minors, from co-workers to children. They got some real issues.
God damn it. You went there. You went there, damn it. Oh, man. So what's your take, man? What's your take on this whole Hunter Biden thing?
So
I'm not even going to preface it. I just want to get your take first.
Okay. So obviously, we all know the media is covering this up.
Mm-hmm.
There's no doubt about it. everyone knows it. You know it. I know it. Everyone in the chat knows it. So I'd be preaching to the choir with what I'm saying. The thing is, how stupid can someone be if they know that their laptops have all this information, this data, this, of course, very scandalous information out there, pictures, videos, comments, emails even. They're all on your laptop. And you take it into a computer shop during an election, which your father is the Democrat nominee for one of the major political parties in the United States. And you take your laptop into a store and just leave it there, don't come back to make sure that no one sends it in to the feds and shit, or to the media? How stupid. He must have been on some drugs. I mean, we all know from his past pictures, like, obviously, he has that issue.
Yeah.
It's like at least Hillary Clinton had an idea of trying to get rid of all the information and data, as illegal as it was. I mean, at least she knew. Got to acid wash these phones, smash them with hammers, bleach them, just clear it all out. But nope, Hunter just went walking on in, not a care in the world, probably high on some crack, cocaine, or God knows what else he's on.
So all right. So here's my thing. Let's just take the first picture that came out with him with the crack pipe. All right. So the first thing I gotta wonder is, dude, what kind of scandalous people are you hanging out with that are going to take pictures of you sleeping with a crack pipe? I mean, let's look in the realm of possibility, okay? The dude was passed out, right?
Yep.
Have you ever seen those pictures where somebody's passed out at a party and everybody starts throwing a bunch of penises on their face and stuff with, like, Sharpies, because, your friends are dicks. I mean, let's just be honest. So they just start drawing penises on there and start writing, like, real crude stuff on your face. It's not out of the realm of possibility he was sleeping and somebody put a crack pipe there. But that still begs the question, what kind of people are you hanging around with that have crack pipes?
Who have a crack pipe in the first place?
Right.
Yep.
Okay, I get it, dude. You like hookers. Okay, cool. But with that kind of money, do you really want hookers that deal with crack pipes? Right? John Gall mentioned crackheads.
Might give you a little something.
Crackheads. Right. Okay. No, I get it. So, that was like the first question that like jumped out at me. And it's funny because if you look at Hunter Biden, right, and now we're going to put some context into this. If you look at him when he's got his suit on and everything, he's a very handsome, very rugged, attractive man. And you would think somebody like him would have been well-educated, would have been, somebody who's, he's obviously connected, so he should be able to do something, provide some value. But apparently the only value that he was able to have was having the last name Biden and getting a job on an energy company's board, Burisma, because his father basically put him there to enrich himself. And it's interesting, and I think, you kind of pointed it out right here, this idea that he kept all this information on this laptop, and for whatever reason he dropped it, spilled something on it, it needed to be repaired. But then he didn't have the wherewithal to think, what, maybe I should pick that up. Maybe this kind of information. And, of course, why did he have this information still on this laptop? I'm going to guess he probably had it as an insurance policy.
For who? On himself?
well, Christine mentions a good point on here about family issues, because I recall there was an email that was recently leaked where it talked about how he kind of felt outside of the family. And it says something to the effect that I'm not going to do like the big man, and he's talking about Joe Biden, will make you give me half your income. So I think there's definitely some tension there. And if you take a look at, Hunter Biden versus his brother, Beau Biden, unquestionably, I think Joe Biden had preferential treatment toward Beau. Because Beau, here he is,
well, you have to also remember
he was also a Marine.
Joe
wasn't Beau, did Beau die in combat, or was it, I thought he died in combat, but I also, for some reason, I'm thinking he had like a brain tumor or something like that too.
I think it was combat.
That's what I thought. Somebody else had the brain tumor.
He wouldn't tout it very much if it wasn't combat.
Well, right, and it's interesting because during the first debate,
not bashing his son or anything.
During the first debate, he tried to levy that it was the brain tumor.
Oh, it was a brain tumor?
Yeah, Christine just mentioned that here.
Okay.
And it was funny because, Biden tried using that against Trump, and it was like, no, Trump wasn't talking about your son. He was talking about, well, he wasn't talking about Beau. He was talking about
He
Hunter.
was talking about the other one.
He was talking about the crackhead. He was talking about the fiend.
We have to also remember that Joe Biden's the kind of person, like, when you ask him about Hunter Biden, he's the same person who says, who's Hunter? Where's Hunter? I mean, he doesn't even know who he's talking about.
Well, I think this is going to be really damaging, and I think what we're going to see, especially, wait for this next week in particular, and I think there's going to be a lot more damaging things coming out here. Biden has a lid going on. And that lid is just, he's not making any appearances, not making any talking points. He ain't saying diddly about nothing until Thursday. Now, you're 2 weeks away from an election. You should be out there. Trump is going out there making 5 rallies every single day. I mean, you talk about high energy.
Did you see what he did in Pennsylvania? Now at his rallies, he's going to be having, especially in Pennsylvania, because it's a battleground state, and there's a lot of coal miners there. He's playing. He took a big screen, and now he's playing all the videos of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris talking about fracking.
Right.
So, I mean, he just...
Well, and Kamala is the one that's going over there that's just outright against fracking.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting. But, yeah, why would he hide away from the press? I mean... If I was someone in the media, I would say, well, he's trying to hide something. He's dodging the question. I mean, it's one thing to be out on the campaign trail and you see the media ask you a question and you just walk away. But it's another thing to just completely go grid in a way and just avoid campaigning. It's like, dude, this question is going to be brought up one way or another. And now that the president is going to be on stage with you, he will press you on that issue. And people who are independent voters are still unsure. They're going to be like, what's he talking about?
Not necessarily. Not necessarily, because think about it, right? So look at what they did with this upcoming debate. Number one, when Biden's talking, Trump's microphone is going to be muted, and vice versa.
Yeah, that's right.
Then they took out any subject matter dealing with foreign policy. Everything foreign policy related has been taken out of the equation, trying to insulate Joe Biden. Now, a lot of people on the right are saying, why exactly is Trump going in for this? Why exactly is Trump walking into this? Well, I think it goes a couple different ways. I think Trump knows he's walking into the lion's den. I think Trump knows that he's going to be walking into nothing but hostility. And you know what? The moderator could say, well, the Black Lives Matter and blah, blah, blah. He's like, you know what? Joe Biden needs to answer for Hunter Biden. He needs to answer for the corruption of this. I mean, he could just totally sidestep all the questions. But by the same token, Joe Biden could just ignore everything Trump's saying without interjection. I mean, sure, I'm guessing Trump could be loud enough to be heard over him despite the mic being cut off. But I think Trump wants people to see the biasness of these moderators. And I don't even know if we can call them moderators anymore, because they're partisan hacks. We don't have anybody that's, honestly, it would have been better if we had Joe Rogan moderate the first debate, Stone Cold Steve Austin to do the second debate, and I don't know, Tito Ortiz to do the third debate. Like, seriously, somebody who's like, you know what, I really don't want to hear shit from either one of you. This guy's going to talk, you're going to talk, and when the other person's talking, you're going to shut the fuck up. That's it. Like, I would love to see, it's almost like we gotten to that point where we need to literally talk to these candidates like that and actually give them time to rebut each other. Instead, we're playing this, Robert's Rules of Order type of nonsense. Well, you got 2 minutes. No, you're asking me a question that requires more than 2 minutes, and I'm going to carry on. And they need to let them just kind of have at it with this, and with a moderator that's going to be impartial. And I miss those days where you knew that your moderator was a liberal, but he was going to press one, on both sides. Just because what he's hearing is BS. Like, he has his beliefs, and they may be left-leaning, but if you're on the left and you're, like, calling out some crazy stuff, you're going to get called out for it. We don't have that today. And I think Trump's trying to expose that. And I think he's going to do it.
Yep. Well, I think people have already seen that for both debates, and even the town halls.
Oh, that town hall was a joke.
I've been... Because I was watching this YouTuber. He has quite a big following, but
which one?
He said he wasn't going to vote. His name, it's like a couple million people, not like big like PewDiePie or someone like that.
Yeah, which one?
His name is Tyrone Magnus or whatever. He's like a reactor. He watches stuff and reacts to it. Okay. And I just came across the first presidential debate he was watching. And what happened was he explained, well, I turned on the TV and I saw like just a few seconds. And I think it was when Trump says, did you just use the word smart with me? Don't you ever use the word smart with me. You graduated last year. And he turned it off right there. He said, "Ooh, I gotta record my reaction to this because my fans are gonna want me to watch this." So he sat through the entire first presidential debate, watched it. Anytime the Chris Wallace was like giving Trump the harder questions and attacking him and debating him, he kept saying, "You know what? Why does he keep interrupting the president? Why does he keep doing that? I mean, like him or hate him, but he's given Joe Biden all his time, and Joe can't even answer the questions. What's going on here?"
Right.
So he says, very interesting. I got to do more research on this stuff. So then he went and watched the vice president's debate, and he said, wow, Kamala is acting very smug, very like snotty, kind of. She's talking very degrading to the American voter, and the vice president, whenever he spoke, he was very calm, cool-headed. He didn't like go and attack Kamala like anything like that, and he kept interrupting the moderator rather than their opponent. So he said, and it seemed like the issues. He's pro-life,
right?
So that's like he says, no matter what, I don't care what your politics are. I'm pro-life. I think abortion is just murder in the first place, and I'm not well versed on any other major issues. Right. But now he's starting to read more into it. Then he watched the town hall. Anytime Trump said something that was like hilarious, he laughed at it, and he kept saying, "Man, this lady's nuts. This lady's a joke." Asking the question, she just keeps interrupting, and the president's able to hold his ground. So he did a poll after all these things, and he says, who do you think I'm going to vote for based on my reaction? And I voted for, that he'd say President Trump. And a lot of people said the same thing.
Right.
So I think this is really good for him to go into the lion's den. He knows he's going into enemy territory because he's done it before.
Well, and
he knows what they're going to do.
Well, this is where where a lot of people are getting deplatformed, conservative content creators. And I always go back to Tim Pool because Tim Pool is a hot commodity right now, and he is not a conservative by any stretch of the imagination. He is a social liberal who is tired of these leftist tactics, And even people like him that are disaffected with the Democrat Party, the Brandon Struckers, you've met Brandon, you've met, a lot of these other cats from the walkaway movement. And there are more and more of these people that are like, you know what, I'm not going to go full Republican. Some are, but they're going to go independent.
Right.
And it's like, you know what? I'm tired of this crap. Yes, I believe in these social programs, but at the same point, it shouldn't be a way of life. And we shouldn't be destroying our country as a result of that. And they see the pragmatism in their liberalism and the pragmatism in the conservatism. While they may not necessarily agree, this idea that we should have this open and exchange of ideas and even conflict to a certain extent. But when the conflict becomes militant, now all of a sudden we have a bigger problem. And this is where these platform, these content creators need to have, they're seeing all this stuff. It's all out there. And the social media moguls can go ahead and try to stifle it as much as they want. Now, I've never heard of this YouTuber that you're talking about. Please put his name in the chat room so I can check him out, so other people can check him out. But this guy,
definitely watch his reaction. Well, you don't have to watch the whole thing, but on certain questions, definitely watch how he reacts.
Right.
Anytime that the president said something about a policy or said something funny, he either went, and was thinking about it like, I need to read more about that. You know what? That's not a bad idea.
Right.
He's right about that.
And that's my point. What you're seeing now are
out.
these content creators. They're giving their reaction. They're putting stuff out there, and it's happening on YouTube. It's happening on TikTok. It's happening all over the place. And there's just not enough people to censor everybody. They're going to try. They're going to try their damnedest. But they're going to fail at this because there are more of us than there are of them. And that's why, like I said, and I keep saying this over and over again, this isn't just for my own self-promotion. This is for everybody's promotion. You need to share this message. You need to share this content, from every conservative content creator, because and even if they're not conservative, these are the people that like you said, the reactions, you can see the gears turning in their head. Because what's funny about that is how the left wants to paint everybody on the right as this racist, white nationalist, BS crowd. And you notice the most popular content creators generally tend to be Hispanic, minorities, blacks, Asian. There's this one, this Muslim girl on YouTube, Exalted Lioness, and it is funny as hell watching how she talks about the Democrat Party and how much hate she's gotten from them versus how much acceptance she has gotten from the right. And it's like, you're stifling stuff like that? It's amazing. And the way
it's truly fascinating.
And I think the worst part of it, though, is how many people are accepting of it. By the way, let me ask you this question. You're 19.
Yes.
And I'm old enough. I'm old enough to be your grandfather, by the way.
Grandpa.
Grandpa. Grandpa Beaner. Nah, I ain't nobody's grandpa. But have you played the game Among Us?
I love that game.
God damn it. Hilario's over here like, I love that game. Did you know that AOC is now on Twitch playing Among Us?
Oh, no. Oh, that's it.
And on top of that, Twitch is already partnered up with her.
Oh, God. Oh, no.
I'm at the point now.
Damn it, Ed.
Now, I'm on a lot of different platforms. I'm at the point now, and I have a Twitch account. I just haven't done anything with it. I'm at the point now where it's like, in my youngest son, he plays Among Us all the time. I'm at the point now, after I saw this article, I was like, maybe I need to go to Nathan and be like, dude.
Getting that just right temperature. or getting an energy-efficient appliance. It's not only about making smart changes today, it's about creating brighter tomorrows with simple steps to save energy. Plus, you'll help protect the environment for years to come. A better world for you, your family, and your community. Get started with rebates and discover what energy-efficient choices can help you power what's next at alliantenergy.com/rebates.
Family dinner has taken on a whole new meaning. We're spending more time in the kitchen and more time around the table. We're trying new things that come from places we've never been, places we'd like to go. Pork makes it possible with thousands of delicious dishes from across the world. Let pork be your passport to a destination that satisfies every craving. 100% real pork, brought to you by America's pig farmers. Discover new flavors at pork.org/realpork.
Why don't you teach Daddy how to play this game? Let me go find who the imposter is. And I'm like, maybe I need to go on Twitch and hopefully I can get her attention so I can roast her on here. You know, I mean, just saying, you know.
Well, anytime I play Among Us, I like to play with my buddies. I haven't played in a while because I'm busy with the campaign.
Right.
But when we did play, we always played in a group, and sometimes we would just mess with other players and get the innocent people killed off first, even though they didn't do anything, just to mess with them.
Oh, you're that player. You're that player my son hates. He's like, my son will be playing, and he's like, they killed me right away. What happened? I'm like, dude, people are dicks online. What do you think was gonna happen?
That's only sometimes. We don't do that all the time. Other times we play the game the right way.
Mm-hmm.
But my name is, sometimes I have it as Palpatine, just because.
Of course.
I mean, talk about a master manipulator.
Of course.
And sometimes it's interesting how people will protect you, even if you're the imposter. Just because your name's Palpatine, we must protect the Senate, this and that, and I'm like, yes, do it. When I just kill them, but it's an interesting game. Usually people are like, I love video games that are high graphics and all this stuff. No, this is a very simple game, and yet very entertaining. But to have AOC playing it, you should definitely try and get on a game with her and just roast her and just if you ever could.
Well, you know, and
my God.
And it goes back, and I just sent a meme to you, and I think you'll appreciate this. Kimberly, I can't remember her last name, just sent this to me. It's good stuff. But this is one of those things where it may sound really stupid. Yeah. Hunter Biden's crack pipe has a Biden-Harris logo on it. But this is one of those things where, you know, and I always talk about, you know, people like to scoff at the whole video game thing and cartoons and all that other stuff. But this is the type of stuff you need to pay attention to, because there's a lot of people on YouTube, you know, you got liberal influencers just the same. And these are the people that are influencing your children. And if your kids are watching, you know, streams from Twitch is still extremely popular. They're catching that content, and if AOC's in there, well, what do you think she's gonna play and talk some trash, you know? So,
oh yeah.
Now let me get into this real quick here as it relates to Hunter Biden. So we know about the corruption, and we know that they try to debunk this as being some kind of Russian scheme. Well, D&I Radcliffe has just outright said, no, this is not a Russian issue. There is no Russian collusion here. This is legit. This has been verified. Now, how dark do you think this gets? Now, just answer one of three ways. Not dark at all, pretty bad, or oh damn.
Oh damn. Oh damn.
Oh
just,
damn.
Oh damn all the way.
Oh damn it is, because
this is just
apparently
this is just the blanket over what's really underneath. Or like this is just a tip of the iceberg.
Did you know that the FBI's top lawyer involved with child pornography is involved in the Hunter Biden case?
Oh my God.
Now,
Ooh.
I have told people this for quite a long time. I don't have any insider knowledge. I'm not. I don't have any mystical magic 8 ball or anything before me. I'm just simply reading the tea leaves. I'm not a big person that believes in the whole QAnon thing, but I also know
Right.
how to read the tea leaves. And I think what we're going to see in the next week, definitely in the next two, and the indictments to come, I think this is stuff that's going to shake people to their core. I have seen pictures with Hunter Biden snorting cocaine off of somebody's ass. And I'm not going to
Yep.
lie, that figure looked like it was somebody that was a minor. And if this is any indication of the things that are to break soon, I have a video that I wanted to play at some point, and I'm going to later on. It was forwarded to me from Darlene Wink. And this guy mentioned how, you know what, Trump was probably never meant to be, president overall when you think about it at any given time, whether it been 1980, whether it been 2182, whatever year. But he was meant to be president in 2016. He is the right man for the right job at the right time. He is crass, he is brash, he is bombastic, he is the bull in the china shop, but he is the man that is needed today. And that is why it is so incredibly imperative that he continue to remain president going over the next 4 years here. Because if we don't have that, we will descend into literally a banana republic. We will have kangaroo courts. We will have a system, and we live in a two-tier system of justice, but it will not only be codified, but we will have people that will be allowed to continue their crimes against humanity on a scale that we have never seen before. We only suspect, and the things that we suspect only scratches the surface of what's probably actually going on. So it's, oh, I got young Nathan down here.
Hi.
I'm getting all deep over here, and all of a sudden I got this kid creeping up on me like a damn ninja.
Just checking the chat.
You got to be careful.
He's checking
He's
the
the
chat.
imposter.
Yeah.
Well, and Gary mentioned on here, the end of America as we know it, America in name only. John Galt mentioned, what's wrong with that other than the age regarding snorting coke off somebody's ass? Who doesn't snort things off of other people's asses? And of course,
Cocaine's a hell of a drug.
Cocaine's a hell of a drug. Oh, man. All right, Laurie, I got to wrap this up, man.
Your son's the imposter.
You're the imposter?
Yes.
Hey, you know what? I'm gonna need you to teach me how to play Among Us.
Yeah. It's hard, but enjoy lying in it.
All right.
Well, it's really easy to pick up.
Why don't you share it with me after the show here?
Okay.
We'll talk about that at length, okay? Mm-hmm. And then maybe you can dye me out and say, dude,
Ed's gaming channel.
My dad's the imposter. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you probably would be a traitor against me, wouldn't you?
Dad is suspicious.
Damn 9-year-old Army. Oh, I tell you. All right, man. Hey, listen, I got to cut it short here because we're running on 2.5 hours. I always keep planning to do a 2-hour show, but it always runs long.
Ooh, I'm getting my fill today, or my fix. Ooh, I have this thing with 2-hour shows. So don't worry, everyone.
2 or 3 hour shows, right?
2 or 3 hour shows. I mean, you just got to keep it going. The more it goes, the more power I get.
Well, you know what we're going to do here in 2 weeks, and I'll make the announcement right now. Come Election Day, we are going to be running, God, probably as long as we possibly can. Like, literally, we're not just going to do a 2-hour show or a 3-hour show. We're going to run this thing probably into the wee hours of the night. Like, we're going to have to run, like, multiple episodes, 3 hours at a pop.
Oh, my God, yes.
You know, I don't know what time we're going to start.
I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to be. Oh, you go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I'm trying to figure out what they're going to be having me doing come Election Day.
Well, you're going to be doing some poll work and stuff, right?
I don't know. I hope not. I don't want to. I want to enjoy my. I want to enjoy the day and just get ready for the big night.
Oh, it's gonna be. It's interesting because I remember
But I'm excited.
Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer calling the presidential election on election night to be just some kind of arbitrary thing, and that that's not a normal thing. And I think it's interesting because it's like, when did that become not the standard? Like, that's always been the norm.
Mm-hmm.
That's actually kind of ridiculous.
I'm really glad you brought her up because just real quick, I wanted to make this statement. Not going too long about it. Is it just me, or does it really seem like she's trying to see assassination or this plot to assassinate or kidnap her? She's really boosting it up and talking about it.
Oh yeah,
maybe to get more people to do it and try it.
No, I think she's trying to get more sympathy, and it's interesting because one of the things that the left is really good at, they put signals and other things, coded language whenever they talk, whenever they have, look at their backgrounds. In the interview that she had over the weekend, she had that one little thing that said 8645. So some people are taking it as, that meant to kill 45. Well, I used to be a bouncer at a strip club. And when you 86 somebody, you're not killing them. You're bouncing them. It's like you ain't coming in the club no more. You're out. You're 86th. If you're using the mafia reference, so you definitely got that. But at the same time, Whitmer is the one who's going around saying in that very same interview, and I got the quote right here. If you're tired of lockdowns, wearing masks, or you wish you were in church this morning, then vote for Joe Biden. Well, damn, if that doesn't seem like a hostage situation, you want to talk about hostages? Like, are you serious? So if you want us to lift the lockdown, then you need to vote for Joe Biden. Well, it's like, no, we don't negotiate with terrorists.
Right.
GTFO.
Yeah, that's just really shocking. Can you send that quote to me so that I can take that and show it on social media?
Yeah, I got the link here. I'll send that to you.
That very much is a not only a threat but like a demand. Like, if you want me to open back up the state, you vote for Joe. What the hell? We don't negotiate, like you said. We don't negotiate with people who take hostages or are trying to hold people hostage.
Right.
And it just shows how politically motivated all this stuff is. I mean, I got to say this. Well, two things. One, my mom, the other day, she was diagnosed with COVID-19, and she worked in a healthcare facility, and she always wore a mask, washed her hands, and everything. It just goes to show that masks don't work.
Well, we definitely wish the best for her in a speedy recovery.
Oh, she's doing great. Like, she's gonna dance in my grave. That's how long she's gonna live.
Yeah, that's a good thing.
Yeah. So let everyone know that. Like, look, they work in a healthcare facility and still got COVID. And it wasn't like she was even directly interacting with residents or anything like that. So no matter what you do, you're going to get it one way or another, whether you're affected by it more or less.
Well, and like I said, the virus is real. And I think anybody who denies it, I mean, you're just not dealing with reality. It's real. It can affect people differently. You don't want it. So take precautions as you deem necessary, but don't stop living your life. Bills don't pay themselves. Life doesn't stop living. Life goes on with or without you, and you need to make the most of it no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy times, man. Crazy. Well, I definitely wish your mother well, man. Make sure you take care of her. hook her up with some Popeye's chicken. You always got to go back to chicken.
Yep,
You know that,
and
right?
Yes, and the last thing, everyone please pray for one of our regulars at our office, who his name is Greg. He's one of our volunteers as well. He recently got hit by a car.
Oh, my goodness.
And he's doing okay, but just pray for him. Make sure that we keep him in our thoughts so that he can get back on out, help us, or do what he can. I mean, he probably won't be knocking doors anytime soon, but still.
No, he needs to recover so he can get back out there to, kicking ass and taking names and, chewing bubble gum and being out of bubble gum. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But thank you, Ed, for having me on the show. I know you want to end it. I truly appreciate it. Everyone, like I said, go follow me on Twitter. I do work with the president's campaign, and we got a lot of good things coming. So don't be surprised come election day that it's not going to be a landslide, because it definitely is.
Oh, it's going to be strong. It's going to be strong. All right, brother. So I want to thank you very much for joining us here tonight. I really do appreciate that.
Of course. Anytime, Brother Ed.
All right. We'll talk to you soon. All right, guys.
Good.
That was Hilario De Leon there from the Trump Victory Campaign. Always a pleasure having him on the show. He's got a lot of good insight, a lot of great conversations. So on that note, I got to make sure I wrap this up, man, because we're looking at a little over 2.5 hours here. Still got a few things I want to get going in. But, yeah. So, man, 2 weeks, 14 days. At this time, in 2 weeks, the argument's going to flare up. And I'm telling you, all hell's going to break loose come November 4. But that is why it's imperative. If you're going to vote early, get out there and do it now. But I highly encourage you guys, come election day, go and vote in person. This is the single most important election in our lifetime. Gallup just recently did a poll. 77% of the registered voters that they have polled said this is indeed the single most important election in our lifetime. That's up 6% from 2016. This is so incredibly critical. I mean, we are truly at an impasse. We are either going to forge forward into the light, or we are going to descend in darkness. It really is that simple. Gary said it best. We lose this election, we become America in name only. And that is not a prospect I want. That's not something I want for myself. It's not something I want for you. That is not something I want for your children. And is damn sure not something I want for mine. And that's something I will fight for. And I strongly encourage you, emphatically, that you do the same. So, on that note, as I do each and every night, each and every episode, I want to remind you guys, I understand that things seem dark. You take a look at the polls, and I'll tell you right now, the polls are wrong. But if you believe in anything in the polls, you start thinking, you know what, darkness is falling over the land. You feel like the villains are taking the lead. You feel like, there's overwhelming odds against you. But it's only overwhelming odds because, you know what? You haven't realized something about yourself. You haven't realized the potential that you have. And what is that potential? That potential, really, when you think about it, is the knowledge that you too can become a hero. You can go out there and become the best version of yourself that you can be. You can go out there and better yourself, not just for you, but for your family, your community, your nation. This is the time where you are needed most. You don't have to be a podcaster, a big name celebrity, or anything else like that. You just need to go out there and become the best damn you that you possibly can be. Be the exception and not the rule, and don't fall into any traps like that. It sounds hard, but it's a lot easier than you guys think. So guys, I want to thank you guys once again here for allowing me to be a part of your night here. I appreciate you guys each and every Tuesday night. Look forward to more content coming out here over the week. And of course, we'll be back here next Tuesday night, 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. I will check in with you guys at that point. Until then, good night. God bless you. God bless the United States of America. I am out.
Hope you enjoyed the Caramel Conservative Podcast. Tune in Tuesday nights live at 8 o'clock p.m. Central, 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern, and 6 o'clock p.m. Pacific. Stay tuned now for the Gary Rustin Program Saturday Extra on GJRB. Watch. Pray. For you not know what hour the Son of God will return. Prophecy, New World Order, terrorism, economic collapse, wars, pandemics, Israel. When they say peace, then cometh sudden destruction. Volcanic eruptions, earthquakes, signs in the heavens. Keep up with world news and events you hear on GJRB's News on the Hour. Go to End Time Headlines at www.endtimeheadlines.org. With a lot of chaos happening, keep in touch with End Time Headlines and GJRB. Imagine one day tuning around on your internet radio only to find a station playing old radio programs complete with commercials and thinking, what am I tuning into? The past? You might be, or it's just GJRB Online and Radioland. A day of nothing but classic radio shows back to back with classic commercials in between. Like the days of radio. Almost like your computer is picking up signals through time. Closer than you'll ever get to time travel. Radioland.
Coast to coast and way out there, fans, listen up. If you like UFO conspiracies, ghosts, and the paranormal, you'll love Spaced Out Radio. Spreaker's answer to Coast AM, with more interesting guest experts in the paranormal and UFOs each month. If you like Way Out There, you'll love Spaced Out Radio. Own the night with Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Nightly at 11 p.m. Central, 12 o'clock midnight Eastern, and 9 p.m. Pacific on Spreaker.
On the SOR YouTube channel.
Strange things in the sky and around the world. Strange beings sighted. What's going on? All around us, conspiracy theories are being discussed. This is the show all about these strange things that are way out there. I'm Gary Russin, and starting in January, Way Out There's back with more weird stories of the strange and the bizarre. Also have guests talking about conspiracy theories. We'll talk about time travel, interdimensional travel, and paranormal, and what the Bible or God says about these things. Keep looking up in the sky and let me know what you see way out there. Returning in January on GJRB Online. There's a problem on our roads today, and that is the safety of our children boarding and getting off the bus on busy roads. That problem is drivers who don't stop for a school bus when the arm is out, the lights are flashing, and the stop sign is out, leaving kids in danger of getting hit. Violators of this law could get a suspension of their driver's license and a $250 fine. When you see a school bus stop at a corner, letting off kids, stop 25 feet away from the bus. Don't take that chance. A public service announcement from the National Highway Safety Administration and GJRB Online.
If you're a new emerging artist and want your songs out there, the place to go is Reverb Nation. Reverb Nation lives ideally devoted to new music from new artists from every town and every state in the U.S. If you're a solo artist and recording your own music, it's Reverb Nation. Stop on by, visit, listen to the music, check out the site, www.reverbnation.com. Put your music out there and gain an audience. Go to Reverb Nation for the best in new music. And remember, if you like your songs played on GJRB Online is up and coming, drop me an email at GaryJ65@yahoo.com. And I'll be playing your song on all GJRB Online shows. Remember the name, Reverb Nation.
Alaska to Florida, Hawaii to Maine, everyone in between. G'day, America. I'm a fully vetted immigrant, a very proud, legal, and naturalized U.S. citizen since 2011. I respect and value the abundant blessings of this republic, hence my unapologetic, politically incorrect views. I chose to become an American. I am the newest voice by choice.
Topic: Patriots will defend our freedoms. At this perilous time in U.S. history, all normal-thinking, balanced, rational and common-sense U.S. citizens, regardless of their political leanings, without any prompting, will have seen, over our recent years, the blatant and continual reduction and destruction of our freedoms. We are seeing, especially through our deep state Illuminati social media outlets, where they are working diligently on the removal, the suppression and the censorship of our freedoms, especially our freedom of expression and speech. Regrettably, we have been gradually indoctrinated and subtly dosed with copious amounts of political correctness, so much so that we have gotten to the point where we are afraid of saying no. In turn, our tyrannical bureaucratic masters have become fearful and frantic due to our thoughts and our heart-deep words. We must ensure that we retain our freedom to convey our thoughts, our ideas, and our opinions. We now have tyrants in U.S. states and cities and around the Western world who dictate that we must not speak our minds. Such a state of society does nothing for our advancement and for our growth. These dictators are terrified because we may have a small mouse of an idea. They are afraid of free thoughts and free opinions. Civilized progress, with all its dignities, with all its civilities, with all its liberties and all its happiness, must be retained. That retention will not come from those in power, those who wield their communist control over the populace. Change and progress comes from the birth and the origination of new ideas and new concepts. Those new ideas and new concepts come from the freedom of speech and expression from anyone within our society. Ideas, concepts, and speech and expression are the very fertilizer that is needed to enhance our development, to enhance our evolution and our advancement. Evil forces residing within our borders have a determination to overthrow our very foundational constitution and our dearly held accepted norms of principles, standards, ethics, morals, common sense and values. These tyrants, with their ties to the United Nations and its Agenda 21 and Agenda 30 strategies, are using their law enforcement agencies to batten, to bludgeon and physically accost law-abiding citizens going about their lives, either walking a barren street maskless, sitting in empty sports stadiums, sitting on a park bench dozens of yards from other humans. Now this is where we see it. This is where these egregious actions are visible and factual for all of us to witness. They've videoed them. They can see it and we can see it. However, the removal of our right to free speech and free expression is being done in a more subtle, more invisible and concealed fashion. Suppression and censorship is set upon an individual, unseen, hidden from the outside world. Unless that individual has other communication vehicles to get the message out to their friends and to their fellow patriots, then that suppression, that censorship, it commences and it continues impacting that individual completely unnoticed by the outside world. The peoples of the Western world become slaves to these oppressors out of fear, out of anxiety and distressing trepidation. Considering the monumental sacrifices that have been made by our forefathers in securing and maintaining our freedoms, not only in 2 major world wars, but in other tragic conflicts, the light of a society with a civilized progress must be permitted to flourish. It's an essential component of that progress and advancement, that freedom of speech, tolerance and goodwill. Violent, ruthless and barbaric tyrants have got no place in the Republic USA, nor in any other Western nations. They are terrified by our words. They are frightened by the working of the human mind, and that is why they program our offspring to report and to tattletale. That is why they nurture the sheeple of the world to volunteer and to assist in their war upon our freedoms. A just and appropriately moral and correct society grows when there is truth spoken in full and proper earnestness. And at this time, the machines of social media tyrants and the foot soldiers of the deep state and the Illuminati, they are working tirelessly to subvert. They're working tirelessly to sabotage and weaken any opinions that are presented by law-abiding citizens. And yes, sometimes, rightfully so, sometimes, maybe they're a little angry, maybe they're a little fired up as well. However, their freedom to communicate their point of view is their freedom. Whether anyone chooses to onboard that communication is the recipient's choice. However, the distortion and the disparity that is seen on social media is more than alarming. We have terrorists, pedophiles, cartel gangsters, seditionists, traitors, despots and dictators, all allowed to disseminate their propaganda, all allowed to disseminate their directives and their hideous, lawless filth without any governor or challenge be shown. We can stand in the mud here all day, debating, contesting and speculating on the history of harsh rhetoric. That is the past. And those utterances and those proclamations cannot be recalled at all. It is today and it is tomorrow that concerns me, where we need to demand concerned and anxious thought. Our US Republic, along with other Western democracies, are being slowly defeated by this insidious infection of suppression and of censorship. There can only be one obvious result: a much weaker society. Much weaker in so many ways, not the least being physically and morally weaker to the very enemy conducting these orchestrated assaults and invasions upon our freedom of expression and speech. For all of you who treasure and cherish the very standards, the principles, the ethics and the morals of our founders and our Constitution, right now is the very time that we should stand unflinchingly and not be afraid to say no. Enough of this dastardly ruination of our rights as free people. Complying and submitting to tyrannical, dictatorial overreach is not an option. We must stand and we must say no. In boldly facing up to this cancer right now, we at least do something to preserve our society for future generations. During 2020, especially during 2020, we've seen for ourselves, if we had our eyes half open, the powers, the effectiveness and the highly efficient manner in which nations and cities have been hypnotized by fear and mandates plucked out of thin air. We must not underestimate the enemy within, also aided and abetted from the outside by communists and by the United Nations and the globalist filth. Western society has literally been grabbed by the hair and throttled by communist tyranny. Many nations, many states and cities set about censoring free speech pertaining to this Chinese virus. People were arrested for posting things upon social media. People were physically accosted. People were tasered and handcuffed for merely expressing their freedom of thought, their freedom of idea, their freedom of utterance, their freedom of articulation, and their freedom of speech. Of course, any normal human being wants to have peace and security for themselves and their families. It's the normal, natural way to be. But right now, that peace and that security has been deserted and devoured, and further accelerating that scenario is the suppression and the censorship of our free speech rights. Unless we take a stand at this time, you can be assured that this is not the end. There will be more to come. So I ask you, good patriots, are you simply going to succumb and roll over? Or are you going to begin to take serious action and send millions of messages, written or spoken, face to face, however you wish to do it, to these tyrannical masters of manipulation? Tell them that we are done. We are done. Patriots have a duty. We have an embedded duty, and that is to preserve our freedoms, if not just for our life, but for the life of the future generations. We have to do this because no one else will do it for us. God bless you. God bless the USA.
I will support and defend the Constitution and the laws of the United States of America against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
Getting that just right temperature, or getting an energy-efficient appliance. It's not only about making smart changes today, it's about creating brighter tomorrows with simple steps to save energy. Plus, you'll help protect the environment for years to come. A better world for you, your family, and your community. Get started with rebates and discover what energy-efficient choices can help you power what's next at AlliantEnergy.com/rebates. Getting that just right temperature.